Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much for coming to this Dawah training course. If we could all move to the front maybe, Yusuf, so the front rows get filled up, but you've got to do some filming and stuff, right? That's fine. Brother, come and sit maybe in that second row, so we fill up the front rows, inshallah. So everyone's like close together, inshallah. Now, basically, today's program, it's going to be about roughly 2 hours, right? Including breaks. We'll have a 10-15 minutes breaks here and there. It's going to be roughly 2 hours. So it's a more condensed version of the Dawah training that I normally do. So this course, I do it in different countries. I do it up and down the country. I do other courses. I do other instruction. Topics such as seminars on atheism, Christianity, different Dawah related areas is what I teach. And that's what my field of like you could say, knowledge, if you want, is in the field of Dawah, basically. So that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. I've been with this organisation called iERA, a charity based in Wembley, London. It's been going for about the same time, so I joined it when it first began. Helped set up some of the functions and stuff like that. Some of the background work, a lot of the office sort of back end stuff needed to be set up and put into place. So I did different roles over the years. With iERA. I did about 3 years in the finance department. I moved around a little bit, but I've always done Dawah from the beginning in the company, because obviously it's a Dawah organisation. I've always had the chance, the opportunity to do the Dawah and stuff like that. But for the last, this Ramadan, which is not far now, someone said like 90 days or 80 days away is going to be Ramadan. It will be 2 years since I've been specifically in the Dawah department, and that's where I really wanted to be from the beginning. That's why I kind of joined it. I thought I'll be doing Dawah. But sometimes, when you set up a new organisation, things aren't always in place. It took us a long time to get things in place. But now, by the grace of Allah, iERA has expanded very rapidly. The last 2 or 3 years, we've seen massive growth as a charity. Yeah, we're getting a good amount of money coming in per month in standing orders or direct debits. Brother, if you can move to the front row, next to the brother there, inshallah. That brother's at the back, sorry, for a reason. That's why you sat next to him, is because he's doing some camera work. So Yusuf is part of the organisation. So basically, like I'm saying, the last, say 2, 3, 4 years, this growth has happened. We've got now in the region of, I lose track because it's growing so rapidly, I can't keep up, right? But we've got about 30 to 40 outreach specialists. So I'm an outreach specialist. I'm one of the UK-based ones. There's like 4 of us. There's myself. There's Salahuddin Patel. He deals more with global outreach, so the worldwide setting up getting the duat. So the outreach specialist is another name for a da'i or duat, right? It's a fancy name for duat. There's Imran Hussain and there's Sabur Ahmed. Us 4 are the UK duat or outreach specialists, and like I say, worldwide there's about 30 to 40 now, and they're all over the whole planet basically. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, we've got a guy in Japan, Brother Salman. We've got people in South America, the Far East, I think Philippines, Malaysia. Like I say, I can't keep up. They're growing all rapidly, and the plan of Hamza, who's the CEO, and the board obviously in the background, Sheikh Abdul Rahim Green being the chairman, and some other people in the board, their plan and their aim is to get roughly, all the time we're growing. We never knew we would grow this quickly, or this, I wouldn't say, it's not about the time, we never knew we would grow this big. Now we've got 30 to 40 da'is worldwide. We didn't think this would happen. We thought we were going to do Dawah in the UK, get things activated, get the Muslims to get involved in Dawah, and we thought that's where it's going to end. But it's ended up being a global sort of thing, where people are, like, Dawah's growing worldwide now, very good. Countries are stepping on board. We've got these guys in Africa. We've opened a mosque in Africa. We're doing other sort of similar linked sort of projects in that kind of area, where we're getting people to do little projects in their own areas, outreach. We do community stuff as well, like feed the homeless, and all interconnected projects and stuff like that. So that's a little bit of background about iERA. So basically, the Dawah training course, normally, brothers and sisters, it takes about 5 to 6 hours to do this course. It's a lengthy course with lots of examples and role playing and activities and all stuff that goes on. However, because we've only got limited time, brother, can you come to in between those 2 brothers there? Because we're trying to fill up the front rows, inshallah.
I can pray here.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you didn't mind, brother.
When I settle down.
Yeah, when you settle down, no problem. We're trying to fill up the front rows. Otherwise, the room's quite empty at the back, right? So, I lost my trail of thought now. I was trying to explain the course. So the course is normally more lengthy with role plays and activities, but don't worry, guys. Look, I don't want to overload anyone. It's a Saturday evening. You guys have got other things to do. It's busy. Everyone's busy. It's London, whatever, right? So I've already shared with Brother Yusuf, who's part of the mosque organisation linked to the mosque. I've shared the notes that go with all the content. So if you miss out on anything, you don't understand the concept, something goes over your head, you didn't catch anything, don't worry. You've got the notes. It's like a Word document. You can go to that and you can always refresh yourselves. The key thing is to understand some of the basic concepts, the main points, which I'll go through carefully. If there's any questions, try to keep them to right to the end, and I think we'll finish maybe 7:45, 15 minutes before Isha Jama'ah prayer, so anyone can make wudu, do whatever they want. So maybe 7:30. I'll try and finish for 7:30, and we can keep the Q&A open for 7:30. So it's just under 2 hours. I'm going to do it in quite a compact way anyway. I've done it before like that. So the question is, why come on a dawah training course to learn how to give dawah? Anybody? Brother at the front? Why come on this course? Why come to a dawah training course? What's your reasons to come, brother?
Well, we need to be better at it.
Excellent. Brother?
I just convey the beautiful message of Islam to the other community.
Brilliant answers. Excellent answers. So I just got a little feel of some answers. I'm not going to go around to everyone. But the brothers are saying they've come here to get that understanding, get that feel, that understand the knowledge, to convey the beautiful religion of Islam. They're very good answers. Because think about it. What's the best thing we've got, guys? Best thing. It's not our cars, it's not our houses, it's not our families, it's not our jobs. The best thing we've got is our Iman and Islam. That's the thing that's going to count, guys. Because life, let's be honest, life is short, isn't it? What's the ultimate aim? The ultimate goal for us, guys, is to get that infinite life, right? The paradise. That's what we're all aiming and striving to do. And the way we can reach it, one of the ways, is this act of ibadah, dawah, which I want to get into your mindset, get you guys thinking about it, get you guys to understand and know that generally, as we'll learn in the course, dawah is easy. It's one thing, you should never get tricked by shaitan. Shaitan will always try to slow you down in worship. That's what he's there for. He always wants to slow you down. He wants to put barriers. But if you understand that dawah is easy, then you'll come to it more readily as a form of worship, right? Because if you look around, other forms of worship, like you could argue, coming to the mosque here, if I can say the acronym right, MCWAS, the cultural centre, right? Coming here, it takes effort. You have to drive your car, wake up, brush your teeth, comb your hair, put your clothes on. Then you come for the salah. You stand in the congregation. You've got to recite Fatiha or listen to Imam. He's reciting Fatiha. You've got to do the movements properly. You've got to make wudu in the cold. All these list of things, these actions you've got to do just to do the ibadah of salah. And you hope it's accepted. But dawah, it doesn't take so much effort. It's just a conversation with someone, handing out a leaflet, doing something, an action, even your actions, like removing something harmful from the road. Say some non-Muslims see that. Say there's a broken bottle and one of you guys picks it up, one of the youth here, he sees the half-broken bottle, picks it up, there's a bin literally right there, he drops it in there, khalas, the job is done. The lowest branch of Iman to remove something harmful from the road. But imagine non-Muslims witness that. Imagine you're a bearded brother or a young one of the youth here, and he's got a thobe on, about to go to his madrasa, and he does that act, and some non-Muslim lady or man, family with other kids, say they observe that. That's good dawah, isn't it? You've shown them that Muslims care about the environment, about other people. There could be animals or children hurt from the glass, cars could get damaged. All the dawah comes in many different forms. We're going to cover it in the course, inshallah. So basically, what we're going to do, the objective of our course today, this shortened version of the dawah training course, is to understand why dawah is part of everyday life, develop sincerity, ikhlas and motivation to give dawah, gain confidence to talk to anyone about Islam, very important. You might feel a bit nervous or you don't have the confidence. I could never speak to non-Muslims very clearly. I get mind blocks. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to end. This course will give you a methodology. It's called GORAP, yeah? If you've never heard of it, it's GORAP. It will be in your notes. Nothing to panic about. It's a short acronym. You can lodge it at the back of your head, plant it at the back of your mind, and it's an acronym that gives you this guidance, right? And what it does, as we're going to discover and learn, any difficult questions like, why does Islam say this, why that, all these hard questions that you can't really answer, it sidesteps them. That's what GORAP does. It circumvents them, right? It sidesteps the difficult questions. It allows you, the Muslim, to control the dialogue, which is what you want, guys. You want to be giving dawah. Because remember, it's never static. If you're not giving dawah, then rest assured something or somebody else will be giving you dawah. It's never static, there's no vacuum, right? Even if it's like, I don't know, you're walking down the high street, there's a billboard, it says Tesco, I don't know, cucumbers, they're now 30 pence each, 70% sale or whatever. This advert is inviting you to buy that product. It's a form of dawah. Dawah is going on in all avenues, all ways, right? So an effective map on how to give dawah, I mentioned the go wrap, that's the structure. There's no deep philosophy, so don't get worried. You know, we know Brother Hamza Zoros, this is put it quite, straightforwardly. He's quite an expert in philosophy because he's studied that field subject area. I think he's going for a PhD at the moment. They're working on it in philosophy. He studied it to masters or postgrad or whatever level he's done, at least a standard degree in philosophy. And it's an area, if you've not studied it, it can be quite daunting. So there's no deep philosophy. There'll be little smatterings, little tasters, little bits, because it's required to understand some basics, even to like analyze and look at some rational arguments in the Quran. You need some basic philosophical sort of discussion. It's nothing deep, right? This course is not the be all and end all. There's many dawah training courses. I mentioned that Dawah is Easy. There's a website called Dawah is Easy by Dr. Fazl. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Dr. Fazl. He's a brother, he's based in Kilburn, North London. He's a dentist by profession, and he does this, he sets up the camera like that camera, and he goes out in the high street and he does this dawah, and he's named his website Dawah is Easy. And I like the name because it is easy. Dawah, as we're going to discover, is easy, brothers and sisters, right? So, we won't go into too much depth, but just to throw it out there, has anyone been involved in dawah before, to any degree, any levels? You can put your hands up. Excellent. A few hands going up. Brilliant. Anyone been to a dawah training course? Yes, same brother put his hand up. Ever had to explain Islam to someone? Must have come up at work and places like that, colleges, maybe at school, or in the person in the shop, or wherever you sort of interact. Who feels comfortable in explaining Islam to non-Muslims? Remember, that's not the only form of dawah. We give dawah to Muslims as well. Obviously, primarily as a minority of 2 to 3 million Muslims in the UK, the bulk majority is about 65, 70 million non-Muslims. So the people out there that haven't got any guidance, right? We're trying to save souls, and Allah is the one that guides, is the non-Muslims, is the primary audience. The Muslims, of course we give them dawah as well. I mean, the way I see it, they're both equal. From my experience and understanding, we give to both equally, right? But you can argue different arguments. You could say the non-Muslims, look, they don't even have any iman. The bad Muslim, at least he may be under the mercy of Allah, the shade, he still could be forgiven or whatever. Maybe he's a bit negligent in certain bits of ibadah and whatever, but he's still Muslim in his essence. You know, he's a Muslim, he has that belief, he's taken shahada, he has the religion of Islam. We hope he's okay like that, right? So in one stance, the one who's the Muslim, who needs dawah, because we all need dawah. This is the point. Everyone, even everyone in this room here, we all need dawah. Ad-deen and nasiha. It never ends, right? The dawah, the advice, the calling to Allah, it's continuous, right? So firstly, before dawah, we need to know Allah, right? What does it mean to know Allah? Obviously, this is a refresher. You guys know all this stuff. But it's interesting to look at some of these things, right? Some of these fundamentals. Because our call as Muslims, whenever we do dawah, we talk about this thing called dawah, the call is to tawheed. We cannot mince our words. We cannot go into too much politics or other rhetoric or this idea or this ideologies or whatever it is. The call is always the same. The call to Allah, tawheed. That's what it's all about. And the categories are shown on the slide. But I wanted to just sort of like get people's brain energy going, right? I want to sort of look around at the Muslim world. I mean, how do we look at the Muslim world at the moment, right? If we look with scrutiny at the picture of the Muslims, it's not necessarily a very rosy picture, is it, brothers and sisters? Let's be honest, isn't it? You hear about this news, then Syria's happening, then you hear about Burma, then you see the next thing's on fire, and then it just goes round, doesn't it? It seems to be spreading, right? The Muslim Ummah, the world, it's trouble after trouble. There's Burma, there's children being burned alive, elderly people in Palestine being oppressed. Then you go to the next place, now it's Syria, now this country. Then you hear, it's spreading and spreading. And it's a doomy, gloomy picture for the Muslims, right? And what is the reason for this? The scholars of Ahl Sunnah have cited reasons for this humiliation, this low point for the Ummah. Yeah, and don't get my wording wrong. It doesn't mean it's a permanent low point. We're not heading to destruction in totality. But the point is, and this is why I believe, there's a saying in Islam, you can only come so low and then you come up. And what I believe from my not many, because about 25 years ago, roughly, I wasn't practicing. But the last 25 years of practicing, being around Muslims, praying and doing all the things of Islam, I've come to the realization that I feel that there's an Islamic awakening, that people are waking up slowly. It's gradual. It's very slow. We're just at the trough. The trough, so you've got peaks and you've got troughs, yeah? The trough, the Ummah has hit this trough, it's come really low, right? And I believe we're just coming up again, slowly but surely. Muslims are waking up, dawah is increasing, people are coming to Islam. You hear the statistic, Islam, the world's fastest growing religion. So there's positive things going on, it's happening. But the scholars have cited the reason for this horrible situation, if you like, this really bad state that the Muslims are in. I'm looking for a one-word answer. To give you a clue, it's a one-word answer. What have the scholars said? What's the reason for this war, famine? Look at Saudi and Yemen and this place and that place. Kids in Yemen being starved and bombed and killed. Destruction and chaos. Horrible things you don't want to think about, but it's a reality. It's going on. Brother, I think you were going to put your hand up.
I was just going to say that the Muslims not practicing maybe, and we're not practicing.
Yes, you're right, but I remember what I said. Can you remember what I said? What did I say?
One word.
One word answer. That's all I'm looking for. It's kind of keep it simple and generic. Yes, brother. Kind of. But it's a one word answer. It's something. Think about what I just said. Muslims are being killed and humiliated. The Ummah is in a downtrodden state. We're not in a state of affluence or spiritually even, right? There's a clue there. Yes, brother. 100%. This is the problem, brothers, right? Shirk, the manifestation of shirk in the ummah is at the highest point, or at a very high point, should I say, right? We're wallowing in shirk, if we're honest, yeah? You go to certain countries, Pakistan, India, Egypt, all over the world. You don't have to go to any particular land. Obviously, in certain lands, it's more apparent. Grave worship, calling upon the dead, making dua to idols or whatever, their living relatives, asking a peer. It's manifest in the ummah, it's ingrained in the ummah. We're drowning in shirk as an ummah. And this leads to what? It doesn't please Allah. He won't forgive that sin, and you won't get the guidance like that. You won't be guided while committing this atrocity of shirk, right? As it says on the slide, the gravest sin. And shirk comes in different forms. I want to remind us all. It doesn't just mean, okay, I bow to an idol, or I go home and I call upon my grandfather. He's dead now, but I ask him to answer my prayers. That's not what just shirk is, right? It can be different forms as well. Like, for example, an ideology, a fikr, something you put above Allah's rulings and laws, whatever. You hold this more dear in your heart and you follow it more with more love and more avidly. You follow that fikr. Yeah, it could be following your desires. You follow your desires so much that it ends up becoming shirk. Yeah, there could be many forms of it. It could be tangible, non-tangible. It doesn't just mean this idol, I bow to it, whatever. But that's happening a lot in the Ummah anyway. In Egypt, people making tawaf around what they call is the grave of Fatima. India, many people going to these graves, calling upon the dead. The Ummah needs to be rectified. Yeah, and the only way is to turn back to Allah, the Tawheed. So the categories are here. Obviously you know these already, so we'll just briefly do it. Lordship, Allah is the Lord, Ar-Rab, which is Tawheed al-Rububiyyah in Arabic, yeah? Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, so He's the one that sends the rain, He nourishes us, He's the sustainer, He causes the plants to grow, He's the creative one, He's got that creative power. And this is important, and leads on to the next one, the names and attributes, Asma wa Sifat, yeah? So Allah's got many names, beautiful names, many attributes, it makes up who He is, and they're all maximally perfect. There's no flaws, no deficiencies. He's a perfect being, right? As we'll go on to talk about more. So I like to ask trick questions to make sure everyone's waking up in the class. Otherwise, it's a very dreary, long 2 hours, right? When I say trick questions, I mean I like to ask sort of deep questions that people have to think a bit deeper about, right? So I want to throw it out there, brothers and sisters. Yeah, sisters, you can put your hands up. How many names does Allah have? Okay, the two little girls put their hands up, so you can shout it out.
99.
Okay, brilliant. Brother at the front.
99 plus.
You know what I liked about that sequence? The sisters were right, the little girls were right at the back, and the brothers right, yeah? In the hadith is famously known hadith or whatever, it's about the 99 names. Whoever enumerates them, which means memorizes, acts upon, calls upon, uses the names, the 99 that's mentioned in the hadith, he gets paradise. The brothers right as well, because there's actually more than 99 that were revealed. I don't know what the number is, maybe 130, 130, I don't want to say the wrong number, but there's over 99. This is why, but remember the hadith is talking about a specific 99, that you memorize those specific 99, right? And if you go to one mosque, MCWAS, then you go to another mosque, I don't know, Wimbledon Mosque, yeah, you go around the country, Manchester Mosque, whatever, you'll see these posters and they've got 99 names. They're different from one mosque to another. You'll say, but that name's there, for example, Al-Ghani, but you go to another mosque and these two don't match up, right? Long story short, I don't want to lose focus on my question, that no one's answered it to the ultimate degree yet, yeah? Then what my question is, I'm giving you a clue there. The clue is in ultimate, yeah? Brother Yusuf, what do you think, brother?
He's only revealed, we only know 99 of the names he's revealed to us.
The hadith talks about 99, but as the brother said, there's actually more than 99 revealed. If you add them all up, it's like it goes over 99 different names, right? From my knowledge. But ultimately, in the ultimate sense, how many names does Allah have?
Qualities of Allah don't stop.
Good. The brother hit the nail on the head. He's worded it very well. An infinite number of names exist with Allah, right? They're only with Allah alone, right? They're not revealed. So, and remember that infinite, right, can only exist with Allah. The infinite doesn't exist in this world. It's only on paper in mathematics, the symbol. You can't actualize the infinite in this life, can you? If I said to you there's an infinite number of footballs in the park, yeah, and I take out 2 footballs, how many footballs are there? Some people will say there's infinity minus 2. Some people will say it's still infinity. You can't answer it because it doesn't work. In this life, in this finite life, because this world is finite, infinity doesn't actualize. It doesn't work, right? But obviously Allah is infinite, right? His is a qualitative infinite, right? Not in the quantity sense. It's a quality sense, infinite, right? Okay, so we won't get too complex. So basically, we've talked about shirk. Obviously, ibadah, worship, is the most important classification of tawheed. All our worship's for Him alone. We do everything for Allah to earn the paradise, to hopefully be forgiven. And remember, Allah talks about in the Quran, the reward is of 2. It's in this life and the next. So when we do our dhikr, we do our dua, we do our ibadah, we give in charity, all the good things we do, Allah rewards in this life and the next. It's a win-win for the believer, right? So, just another little point about the names. So, some years back, me and some brothers, we got together and we basically worked on a small project of, there was a scholar from Saudi Arabia, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, he's passed away now. What he did is he worked on trying to find out what the 99 names are. He was a very learned person and he did his hard work, scholarly work, and he tried to find out the names and he put together the names and we basically turned this lecture into a book. So me and some brothers, we transcribed this lecture. It was translated into English. We got the names together. So I was working in IT and I knew a bit about computer systems or whatever. So I did the Arabic typing up and we added the English. And I turned it into a little booklet basically. So I made a little book along with a couple of other guys. This was many years ago. It was held on a CD and only recently did we publish it, right? So brother John Fontaine, who you might have heard of, is another da'i. John Fontaine, he basically printed it very kindly for me because I didn't really have loads of funding to print copies or whatever. He did it for us, or for me and the guys, and for his own use. So this book is a memorization tool. It's the 99 names of Allah in a small book form, right? So it's got the Arabic and it's got the English. The reason why I'm mentioning it is for 2 reasons. The main reason is for dawah to... Thanks, Yusuf. Jazakallah khair. Thanks so much. For dawah, it's very important that we know Allah's names and attributes, right? Let's be honest and frank, brothers and sisters. How many footballers do we know? How many YouTube guys? How many actors? We know loads of names. If we push it, right? We might even know more names of our old school teachers from 20 years ago or 40 years ago than we know names of Allah. So this little booklet, the memorization tool that I helped make, it's like the little dua book. It's a small book. It's got the Arabic, then it's got the English meanings. Like for example, al-awwalu, the first, yeah, the one who has no beginning. This describes who Allah is. It's a small, short description. It's actually a memorization tool where you can memorize the names and try to learn these 99 names in the hadith and hopefully get the reward. If anybody wants the book, just out of interest, if you want a copy of this book, I'll try to put my email at the end. Or you can contact Brother Yusuf, whichever way around is easier, and I will send a free copy to you or a number of copies in the post. Just give me your address, we'll post it from our warehouse straight to you. You can take copies and you can work on that, learning the names of Allah, memorizing, and then what you'll do is you'll be building up your power in dawah. Basically you'll be getting more powerful to do dawah, because when you know who Allah is, when you know His names and attributes, your dawah just gets stronger, because as we'll go on to learn and define, dawah is just calling to Allah. That's all it is. So if the more you know about Allah, the more powerful your dawah becomes, and the more people listen, and then they understand, and then they get to like Islam. They're like, wow. So, you know, like this thing about, I said Allah is al-awwalu, the first, yeah? He's also al-akhiru, the last, right? The first and the last. So if you were to use this with a Christian, just those two names, I've used it on Christians in Dawah, right? I've said to a Christian, okay, look, I have a nice friendly conversation. Because remember, we're not trying to smash the Bible, or, you can bring up John 55 and Corinthians this and that and say it's wrong and there's contradictions, and you can take it all apart, right? But what will happen with Christians, as we've researched and discovered, the Christians will actually regress. Once their Bible is shown to be false in front of their eyes, that the Bible doesn't work, it's full of falsehood, they'll regress. And what's happening is Christians are leaving Christianity when their Bible is proven false. And where do they run to? Anyone know? What do you think, brother?
Atheism.
100%. They go to atheism, they regress. They don't come to Islam. They're like scared now. They're like, my Bible was wrong. Quran must be wrong, because all books are wrong. All religion is wrong. And they go to atheism. Look at Bar Ehrman, a professor or whatever, a very learned Christian scholar type person. Now he's an atheist type or agnostic. I think he's atheist, right? So he regressed. These people regress. So with this argument, al-awwalu al-akhiru, names of Allah, what I say to the Christian, and you could use these little soundbite sort of arguments, you could say to them, look, Mr. Christian, look, at the end of the day, you believe Jesus was born, right? We believe Jesus was born from Mary, Immaculate Conception, chapter in the Quran, right? So we agree upon this. According to Christianity, not Islam, this is where we part our ways, he died on the cross. That's what you believe. So he was born, Jesus, he had a beginning. He died on the cross, he had an end. Well, what's our God? What's the definition of our God in Islam? What are some of the names? Al-awwalu, the first who had no beginning. Al-akhiru, the last who has no ending. So our God, so Jesus cannot be God, because our God doesn't have a beginning, doesn't have an end. And you make these sort of logical type of rational arguments. You don't really push them this way or that way. You don't say Bible is like this or that and start to... I'm not saying you can't use Bible verses, but I'm saying the approach should be to get people to think, how does that work? If Jesus was born and he had a beginning, he came into this life. Because they say he was divine, right? God, Jesus is the Son of God, or some say he's God, right? He's divine being and the Trinity and all that nonsense, right? Which doesn't work, right? So anyway, so basically, what is dawah? We kind of covered it. The noun just means to call or to invite to Allah. In the Islamic context, to call or to invite to Allah in Islam. That's the specific Islamic kind of definition, is to call or to invite to Allah. So at the end of the day, you've got to understand, if, like I mentioned, the names and attributes, when we know who Allah is in a good way, when we've learned something about Him, the call becomes easier. People begin to understand, okay, your God is all-loving. Al-Wadud, He's the all-loving. SubhanAllah, we thought just love was in Christianity, that God is love, Jesus is love, all that. We've got the thing in Islam as well. Allah is the all-loving. Yeah, His love is perfect, right? When somebody or something loves in this life, is with weakness or for a reason. Like a mother has got a very powerful love for the children, right? But when she loves, she does it for a need. She loves her children for a need, so she gets some sort of, like you could say, emotional strengthening, right, from loving the child. She gets some feedback, some happiness, some joy, a relationship builds up. There's some worldly, humanistic type of need. The mother loves for a need, just to be a mother she loves, right? But Allah doesn't do that. His love is perfect, right? He's no flaws, no deficiencies. He doesn't become stronger by loving us, or loving humans, or loving the Muslims, right? In that sense, right? And he has no need for it, and it's a perfect love. There's no flaws, no deficiencies. There's no deal in it for Allah. He loves unconditionally with a perfect love, a divine love. So it's very powerful who Allah is, right? So there was a verse there just talked about, this verse talks a bit further. Who is better in speech than the one who invites to Allah and does righteousness and says, indeed, I am of the Muslims, right? Chapter 41 of the Quran. So it's vital to call to Allah. The approach can be diverse. Like you can do many different ways of dawah. I want you guys to understand this, because some people feel, oh, dawah is just for this sort of person or that sort of person, right? It doesn't work like that. Obviously within the boundaries of Islam, and it's through our words and actions. So what we've got to understand is, look, dawah, guys, don't get a wrong mindset. Like sometimes for the last year, I've been working a lot on the EU, Europe, yeah? So I've been traveling a lot across Europe. I went to Cyprus, I went to Denmark, Italy, Spain, Finland. There's loads of countries that I went to, working on dawah training and getting teams set up, doing dawah, giving talks, sending books over, just getting the whole dawah activated across Europe is what I've been doing for the last year. And the thing is, look, end of the day, sometimes worldwide there's a misconception about dawah in the West, right? So in the other countries, they've got the YouTube, they've got the channels, all of the internet media, right? So they'll put on YouTube and they'll see Speaker's Corner. They think that's the cutting edge of dawah. There's like a misconception. Do you understand my point? I think if you're in Speaker's Corner, you're the best da'i in the world. You're doing the best dawah. But this is not true. You could be at Speaker's Corner for 20 years or all your life or whatever. It doesn't mean you've done the best dawah in your life. There could be a brother or sister here. A sister could do one tweet on Twitter, or one sharing a Quran video, even with a Muslim, right? Because we don't know where it's ultimately going to end up. Things go viral on the internet, yeah? That one tweet or Twitter or whatever, that could have more impact in terms of rewards and stuff like that. It's about your intention. Do you see my point, brothers and sisters, right? And don't think that dawah, again, is just street dawah. Okay, it's brothers on dawah stalls, sisters can't get involved. You know, I'm a sister, I don't want to be in this high street with all the rain pouring and all the elements and sometimes bad folk or drunks or whatever. Look, a sister, I'm not saying sisters have to stay at home, right? I'm not giving fatwas, right? I'm saying sisters are our community as well. But a brother or a sister might prefer his living room in the windy weather, cold weather. What he's doing on his laptop, in my view, what I believe, it is probably more powerful than even some street dawah. I mean, they've both got their uses, pluses and minuses, but the dawah at home on the internet is extremely powerful. Because look, number one, there's a big war on the internet anyway. You know, misinformation about Islam, disinformation. Look how much rubbish is on the internet about Islam. So many lies about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So many lies about Islam. It's flowing, overflowing. They have disinformation agents. You know, people sitting in rooms sending out wrong details about Islam. Think tanks that are working on this. They've devised all these theories and they're pushing it out onto the internet. Vlogs and blogs and web pages. It's drowning in falsehood, right? And this is why the internet is a double-edged sword. You know, it's got loads of good, it's got tons of bad. And new Muslims don't know where to go, what to search for. That's why if any of you guys do come across like a new Muslim, what you can do is direct them to the iERA website, and we send out a gift pack, you know, new Muslim welcome pack. We post it for them free of charge, and it gives them books to get them started on their journey if they've reverted to Islam. So if you hear of anyone, mention that to them. Say there's a gift for you waiting on the internet. They'll send it to you free. It's got English translated meanings of Quran, how to pray DVD, An-Nawawi's 40 Hadith. It's got the Small Fortress of the Muslim Dua book. It's got it had that book that I was telling you guys about, the 99 names book, Names of Allah book, Seerah book. It's got a load of things to get them started in a nice gift box, right? So my point is that dawah, it's very holistic, right? You know, this approach and the call, it's very wide, and what you can do is very powerful. Look at my own story. When I look at my own story, I'll give you two quick stories because it summarizes a lot of the slides in a story form, right? Which is a bit more sticky, it sticks in the mind. At the end of the day, look, about 24 years ago, 1995, 24 years ago, I was not practicing Islam. I was at university and I was basically lost, right? I'll be quite frank and honest, right? I was lost. I wasn't praying 5 times a day. I was praying Jummah, so I was a Jummah Muslim, right? And I was keeping a form of fasting. It was a very coarse form, but I tried to fast, right? From many years ago, I tried to fast, right? So what happened was I needed to know when the fasting time breaks, yeah? In other words, when is Maghrib, yeah? And how could I do this? With a timetable. So I went to the ISOC, university guys, I got the timetable, took it home. What somebody did on that timetable is they wrote a verse of the Quran, you know, in Arabic and in English, verse of the Quran. And that verse of the Quran, when I read it, as a person who's never prayed 5 times a day in his life, I read that one verse of Quran. How did I read it? Did I read the Arabic? No, I didn't know Arabic, yeah? I learned a few of the letters, alif, ba, all the letters, right? But I couldn't read Arabic, couldn't understand it, not my language, right? But I read the English translated meanings. So it wasn't even the real Quran, but it had an impact. The real Quran, obviously we know the Quran is only in Arabic. Fusa is the real Musaf, the book, right? That's the Quran. Right, what we've got is the Quran. That's the miracle, right? The English translated meanings isn't the Quran, right? It's a translated meaning. But that had such an impact, that one verse, that I became practicing. It transformed my life. You know, 25 years ago nearly, 24 years ago, that one verse. Obviously there's other factors as well. Dawah is never one little channel or tunnel. It's never one avenue. It's always a multitude of things that causes someone to wake up because the fitrah gets woken up, whatever. My point is, imagine you were that person that wrote that timetable. You made a timetable, like they got them in the mosque here, Maghrib, Isha, sunset, sun, all the bits in there, and then you just added one verse of Quran, right? Yes, brother.
Do you mind telling that?
You know why I'm laughing a little bit? I'm laughing because every time I mention this story, the question that gets asked is, what was that verse of Quran, yeah? Nearly every time, and one of my colleagues, sometimes he comes to Dawah training, he's laughing as well because everyone, a lot of people, brother, ask me that question, but Qadar Allah, I didn't remember the verse, I didn't keep the timetable. We're talking about nearly 1/4 of a century ago, it went wherever it went, yeah? However, I remember a little bit. I remember definitely it had the word Lord in it. It said something about your Lord. Maybe it said your Lord is one, or worship your Lord alone, or something like that. Something fundamental. It wasn't a verse like Musa threw down the staff. It wasn't like a history or not history. How can I say it? Like descriptive in a different sense. But it definitely had the word Lord, and that's what hit me really hard. When I read the word Lord, it's like people don't use that language. Who uses the word Lord in everyday English? You don't say Lord. There's Houses of Commons, maybe there's people Lord or whatever, right? Or Lord Mayor, Sadiq Khan or whatever, I don't know, right? So the point is you don't use this terminology, and it struck a chord. But my argument is, imagine the person who wrote that timetable 25 years ago, University of Essex, right? 25 years ago, the timetable. Imagine the impact. They didn't imagine that one timetable would affect one non-practicing Muslim on campus. And now, for the last 10 years, I've been going around the world, giving dawah training, inviting people to Islam, setting up dawah teams. 4 teams got set up in Finland. There's 2 in action at the moment, and 2 more are about to step on board. So even yesterday, I've got the pictures on my phone. They went out into the streets of a city called Tampere, and they're in this freezing cold snow and ice. They're handing out booklets and everything, doing the dawah. Right? So imagine the rewards. Where do they all go back to? The person that wrote that timetable acted like a catalyst to me becoming practicing, and then further on in my life giving dawah. So all the rewards will go back to that one person. If their niyat was good and clean and then intention was correct, they're going to get rewarded for that one verse of Quran. Nowadays, when we look at timetables, what do we see? Not all of them, I'm just saying it jokingly, right? Sometimes we see this advert for this pizza shop, right? This advert for this kebab shop, this car mechanic, right? We add extra information to the timetables, but the point is quite deep. The point is, if you're a brother or sister, don't underestimate what you can do in dawah, especially online. This is the old-fashioned printed copy, right? Books are very powerful. We'll discover it in a minute. Books are very powerful, but online, the online sphere, you might share a YouTube video in a WhatsApp group with just Muslims. That's all you do. Mishari, Surah Kahf, a reminder to my friend, Surah is Friday, listen to this Surah Kahf, and you share the video from YouTube. Something like that. You share a link, right? That Muslim then, they're in another WhatsApp group, which is their work colleagues, their non-Muslim work colleagues or whatever. They say, look at this video. And then the non-Muslim listens to that video. They spread it among some other. Whatever happens, it spreads on the internet. It goes viral. We don't know who's going to accept Islam, where it's going to end up, what's going to happen in the future. So don't underestimate and don't restrict the forms of dawah. It's holistic. It's very diverse. It's very wide. There's debates. We do exhibitions in iERA. I think, Brother Yusuf, you're going to do the exhibitions, and you're going to borrow the banners, isn't it, and do one exhibition. So there's all these ways and means. So Brother Yusuf's going to do an exhibition. Is it on the 3rd of March?
Yeah, it's the Mosque Open Day.
Mosque Open Day.
National
thing, isn't it? Yeah, all the mosques over the country are going to do it. So if any of you guys want to volunteer, brothers and sisters, you want to come on that day, put in a little bit of help, be ready to give out some books, do some dawah. You'll learn the dawah technique here. Please get the rewards. The rewards are massive. We're going to talk about rewards of dawah. So basically, here we are, motivation and rewards. So what do you think, guys? This guy walks into MCWAS. Bit of a mouthful. You can imagine him trying to say MCWAS, right? Look at him. I don't know if you can see the picture clearly. What do you think? Trouble. See this? What's your initial thoughts? Trouble. Look at the guy. No smile. Like body piercing. He's got these studs under his chin. He's got big nose ring, big earrings, tattoos. He doesn't seem to have any hair. I don't know the picture. Say that again. What did it?
Was excellent.
I couldn't catch what the comment was.
Uncle
Shabir, yeah?
Yeah. Management. Imagine if he walks in with Uncle Shabir standing by the door.
With Uncle Shabir standing there, right? It'd be like in through this door, out through that door, isn't it? You know what I mean? Right. So basically, what do you think if you see him? Just say your thoughts. So no one's saying your answer's right. No one's saying your answer's wrong. It's just what thoughts come to your mind if you see this character?
Everyone would argue about this person.
Okay, so you start a bit of controversy, isn't it? People are like, who is he? What's going on? He doesn't even have a top on, no t-shirt, no jumper, nothing, right? What do you think, my brother, with the shirt? Initial thoughts. Go on, anything. Just say what comes to your mind. Same sort of line of thought, yeah? So maybe he looks a bit aggressive, doesn't he? Yeah, you think trouble, isn't it, right? He doesn't look like your average guy in, where are we? Carshalton, yeah? He doesn't look like the average guy in the street, whatever. He looks...
It's a bit different, but you can't judge somebody by just look, right? So
Good. Repeat that again, brother, what you just said. You can't... What's the expression in English?
You can't just...
You can't judge the book by the cover. That's exactly what I was heading towards with these slides. You can't judge the book by the cover. This is the same brother now. He became a practicing Muslim. right? He's a brother, I think he's based in London or up north, I can't remember. I think he was into all this rock world, you know, this heavy metal music and stuff. He's in a band or whatever, right? The point is, look, Allah guided him. Allah can guide anyone. So in your dawah, whether online or offline, don't judge the book by the cover. Don't let shaitan put that barrier there. Okay, he's aggressive, he's a punk, he's not going to accept Islam, he hates Muslims, whatever, Islamophobe, EDL. All these radios that you've got, you need to switch them off. When you're in the world of dawah, you need to switch them off. Like, we can't predict what's going to happen. In 2 weeks from now, President Trump, he might become Muslim. You know, we might be laughing or whatever, right? But you can't, and there's a saying in Islam, you shouldn't hate someone so much. A day may come where you have to love the person. You may become a believer in faith, kind of, so to speak, right? So always keep the door open, and don't, like our brother said, exactly the right thing, right? Don't judge the book by the cover. Anybody can become Muslim, right? So, let's look at some of the rewards, brothers and sisters of dawah. You know, there's so many here. We haven't really got time to go through all of them in detail, because our time is limited, of course. But let's pick on one or two. Let's open it up to you guys. Does anyone know any hadiths about the rewards of dawah? There's one famous one that mentions a colour of an animal. Does anyone know that hadith? It's a specific animal, famous animal at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Camel, yeah, the red camel. Right? The red camel, do you know what the red camel was special? Yes, most expensive, most powerful camel, leanest, most healthiest, most special camel. It could go walk far, it could do the best milk, best, you know, everything, riding beast. It was a pristine camel. It's like today's, in the world of cars, like today's red Lamborghini or red Ferrari. Allah says, or the hadith says, if someone's guided to Islam from your dawah, you get the reward of the red camels. Red camels in the plural, so plural with an S, yeah? So it's like, imagine someone gave you, I don't know, 20 red Ferraris, each worth £1 million. That's like £20 million in terms of what you get in the reward. And obviously, to liken it to the dunya realm is not good, right? It's not, you know, we're talking about, it's a spiritual reward that Allah's going to give you, like these barakah blessings, right? It's a very immense, it's huge, right? And no one's saying it can be just 20. Red camels in the plural could be 1,000 camels, could be 20,000 camels. It's a huge reward for dawah. This is the point I want you guys to internalize. The rewards for dawah are like mountains, guys. This is why I get a bit shocked. Maybe because I'm immersed in dawah for so long, for so many years. I'm eating, sleeping, drinking dawah, right? I'm in an office. All the guys do is talk about dawah, research dawah lectures, dawah talks. All the time we're in the world of dawah. That's what our charity is about. But when I see other people, not to judge, but I'm trying to encourage. When I see other Muslims that are a bit, okay, haven't got time for dawah, don't want to know, you know, haven't got time for dawah, I get a bit shocked, because I think, you know, this leads to problems, right? Real problems, because this selfish Muslim mindset, I'm not saying anyone here is selfish, but I'm saying in the wider world, the Muslims, you know, remember I spoke earlier about not pleasing Allah, the shirk or whatever. We could be doing things that add a constriction to our lives. We could be doing this as Muslims. We feel a constriction. You know, we're doing things like, we go to the mosque, we pray the Jama'ah prayers, we get there for Fajr, we give in charity, we look after our parents, our kids, everything good, we read Quran, we do all this stuff, and then we get home, we shut the front door, we go into our rooms, living room, and that's it. We keep Islam internally indoors. We don't want to disturb Mr. Smith, the work manager. We don't want to, you know, like ripple the waters, don't want to cause waves, don't want to trouble the wider society. This is what I call the selfish Muslim mindset. And many Muslims are like this. I'm not judging any particular person, I'm not saying all, but it exists in the ummah. There's a change slowly, but the selfish Muslim mindset is a trap from shaitan, where he tries to just let you, and what comes to mind is the hadith. Does anyone know the hadith about the man that was destroyed in the town? You know the hadith, brother shaking his head, yeah. So I'll just quickly paraphrase. What happened was, there was a town where there was a worshipper, pious worshipper of Allah, Abid, yeah, good slave, right? And around him, all the people, you know, the other non-Muslim folk, whoever, even the Muslims, they were involved in munkar, yeah, many transgressions, killing, stealing, lying, fornication, drinking alcohol, all the horrible, evil things that you could do. They were immersed in it, drowning in this stuff, right? And what happened was, Allah said, destroy the town. He said to the angels, go to the town, turn it upside down, destroy it, whatever, send an earthquake, right? So the angels came down, they looked at the town, and they saw the one Abid, the one pious person. And then they went back to Allah, they flew back, the angels went back, and they said to Allah, we will destroy the town, but we can't because of the one good slave, the Abid, the pious worshipper. Someone is really a good Muslim, right? What did Allah say? Start with him. Yeah, because he never opened his mouth and called against the evil. He never bothered. He just like the selfish Muslim mindset. Yeah, he kept it to himself. He didn't try to open up a dialogue or anything, and he remained in that way very introvert and keeping it, having this selfish approach. I won't call them to good. I won't whatever. Right, and so the point is, we should open up, we should try to give dawah. Like I said earlier, it's the easiest form of worship. In my view, it's the easiest form of ibadah you can do. Yeah, even easier than using a miswak. You might say miswak is easy ibadah, you just rub your teeth. Dawah is just hand out a flyer, smile at someone, have a conversation. That's even easier than getting a miswak now, washing it, doing your teeth. Even that takes effort, right? Dawah is one of the most naturalistic, easy forms of ibadah, but it brings masses of rewards. Imagine we spoke earlier about, say one of the sisters comes to the exhibition, gives out the Jesus book, or one of the books, or any book, a Quran, right? That person takes the book away, they go home, they put it on their shelf because they're like, look, I don't really want to read it, but out of respect for the Muslims, I won't chuck it in the bin, I'll put it on my bookshelf, right? I'll be respectful, I'll be a good person, right? They put it on the bookshelf. 20 years later, 50 years later, they die, yeah? And the house is up for inheritance or sale or whatever. The kids come in, they inherit this property, they start cleaning up everything, taking out the old paperwork, everything of their parents. Then they find this Quran, this book. Imagine they read it and they become a Muslim. Who put that Quran there? You did. You gave out that one book, right? Then that person, say his name's, I don't know, Chris. Chris becomes Muslim, he names himself Muhammad, for example, right? Chris goes out, starts practicing, learning Quran, praying 5 times a day, fasting Ramadan, everything. Then he gets married to Fatima. They have a family, they have kids. You know that pyramid network that then comes out of that? All they have, their kids have kids. It grows outwards, it grows outwards. It's the best pyramid scheme you'll ever come across in your lives. This dawah rewards is so vast. You don't know where it's going to end up. And this is what we want. Imagine on the Day of Judgment, we're all going to be there. Imagine Allah saying to you, okay, Yusuf, he did 3 hajjis, right? And he gave loads of money in charity, so much money. He looked after 28 orphans. He gave money to them and supported them. And then his book of good deeds is being read out, right? And then imagine, we're going to be really hoping, is the scales heavy? We're going to be sweating. We're going to be really worried state, praying that, hoping that, are we going to pass the test of life, right? Then imagine more angels come and they say, no, actually, Yusuf, he did 700 hajjis. He didn't just look after 28 orphans. He opened up 100 orphanages. And he did X, Y, Z. All these extra good deeds you don't recognize. It could be the sadaqah jariyah that comes from your dawah. Yeah, because in the future, those new Muslims and those people that come to Islam, they're going to be praying, they're going to be fasting, they get the reward for it, and you get the reward for it as well. That's why I point out, the person that made that timetable and added the extra verse, went an extra little mile, extra step, all those rewards for all these dawah trainings and everything is going to go back to, partially a big chunk is back to that person, right? There was other factors in that story as well. I have to add to it. Like other factors in my life was like my older brother was practicing before me. He would write me letters at university because this is before the internet days, right? 25 years ago, the internet wasn't there, not like it is now, and he would write letters and give me advice and stuff like that, don't do this, do that, whatever, give me good words. And some other factors, like my grandmother passed away, it had quite an impact on me. I felt quite saddened and this and that. So this is what happens in dawah. It's a number of different streams, and then the fitrah gets woken up. We'll talk about the fitrah in a little while. Just another little quick story. So the rewards, guys, we can list them all day long. In this shortened course, we can't go through them all. Rewards are immense, gives you life, Allah will give you longer life. Connects you to Quran is interesting because we all try to memorize Quran, learn it, recite it, but 1/3 of the Quran is stories of dawah. The Quran, it doesn't talk about, for example, the fasting of Prophet Yusuf. It doesn't describe how he fasted or how he prayed. The sadaqah of Prophet Musa, it doesn't talk about the details. The prayers of Prophet Sulaiman doesn't detail, did he do sajda, did he do this and that. Those details aren't in the Quran, but 1/3 of the Quran is stories of dawah. It's replete, it's mentioned over and over again. Musa went to Pharaoh, he called with kindness, this and that, all the time, stories of dawah, 1/3 of the Quran. So memorizing Quran, become hafiz, all of us, we aspire to do these things, right? But don't neglect the dawah side, because what's the fruit of all knowledge? Brother with the hat, let's ask the brother with the hat. What's the fruit of all knowledge, brother? Think it, you know the answer. I'm not testing you. It's not, think about it. You got knowledge, knowledge, understand ilm, you learn things or whatever. But what's the fruit of all knowledge? The fruit of it all, knowledge. Close. You said the right thing in a different wording. Think what I'm saying. There you go. Action. The fruit of all knowledge is action, isn't it? So learning Quran, memorizing it, this and that. You get the rewards for reading every letter, but to actualize it would be then to go out and call others to the Quran and to Allah, the dawah, yeah? So this is important. So basically, it's a great form of worship. We've covered that. You know, I just wanted to sort of just share one very quick story that happened recently, which will make brothers and sisters think again about the power of the internet, right? Because remember what I said, you do a little tweet, you do a Facebook video, you do a vlog, try to do something like a WhatsApp group if you get a chance. Say you're at a workplace, right? I don't know, you work for Siemens Nixdorf, right? A IT firm or something, right? You work there and you've got your non-Muslim colleagues. Maybe when the time is right or with the right people or people are more friendly with you at work, you suggest, let's do a WhatsApp group, let's call it Ask a Muslim. And all you do is, you at work can ask the Muslim, me and the other guys, the Muslims in the group, brothers and sisters, you can ask us any question on Islam. It's an open group. So you make that group and dawah's getting done, right? So the internet, what happened was, I was at home, right, back in Uxbridge, and I was like, you know, talking with my wife. I was telling her, look, this is a memory that's like 30 years ago. I'm 46 now. So this is when I was 16. When I was growing up, I was really into IT and computers, right? And they're obviously more basic then, older computer systems. But I used to be interested in computer technology and all this techno stuff, right? Technology, right? And I used to travel to London. I used to live outside London. I used to travel to London to these computer fairs. I don't know if you remember those. They were more popular in the 80s, right? Now everything's online, right? So they were at the Olympia, Earl's Court, you know, this the West End of London, right? They used to take place in the big conference halls, right? And one particular computer magazine ran a competition. They said, if you draw this picture, you win so many good prizes, right? My older brother was very gifted at drawing. He could draw pictures really good, right? And even on the computer, he could draw them really realistic pictures, right? So he entered the competition, he draws this picture. Long story short, he's now an architect, right? So he went on to use his drawing skills, right? So he draws this picture, and it's a really special picture. He draws it and he wins the competition. You know, all these people are coming from maybe all over Europe or the world or wherever they come from. Like thousands or hundreds of people in Olympia, loads of stalls, big exhibition, big hall. They've all come to see the prizes or whatever. They see this picture printed. They even colour printed it, right? 30 years ago, guys, 1989 or something, 1987, right? Colour printing, even then it was quite rare. Like now we've got 3D printers, right? Then to colour print, there was no colour lasers, right? Colour printing was in its infancy, but they colour printed it on a big board like this, a special like PVC type of board. So even to see that was a big thing. It was a big thing that happened, right, in our family. Like he wins the competition, right? They even if I got the story right, I don't want to narrate the wrong thing, but I think the software companies that used to make games wanted to offer him possibly, I think what do you call those things, like a contract to do design of pictures for games and stuff like that. So he succeeded really well. So anyway, I'm telling my wife this story back at home, and then she says to me at the end, that's so interesting, he must have been really good at drawing, your brother. You know what, I wish I could see that picture, right? And I'm like, you can't, you know, I mean, this is in a magazine, they printed it in the magazine, this is 30 years ago, the magazines are gone in the bin, it's all gone now, you know, I mean, I didn't keep the magazine, yeah. My parents have passed away, the house got sold, everything's gone. You know, nobody's got the magazine. It's 30 years ago, right? Then I started thinking, I thought, you know what? Maybe I remembered the name of the magazine. Yeah, I remembered the name of the magazine. That's all I knew, right? Didn't know the editions, didn't know the covers, nothing, right? So then I started Googling the name. Just curiosity, you know, I thought I'd type it in on my phone, yeah? On the Google, right? So I Googled it, name of the magazine. Somebody out there, some guy or lady, whoever it was, they had scanned in every single page of the magazines, all of them. They archived it, you know, even with the covers, right? So all of these magazines are online, right? So I spent like an hour flicking through the pages. You know, you can flick the pages, right? I literally spent an hour going through edition 1, edition 2. It took me 1 hour, right, to look through, and eventually I got to the page, because I remember that vaguely, it was in one of the pages, right? The picture was there. I made it big. They'd done it in such high resolution, it looked like the real magazine. So I showed my wife the picture, and she's probably more shocked that you got the picture after 30 years than the actual story, right? What's the moral of my story? The moral is, and going back to the thing I said about the internet, right? How we've got a lot of work to do, the Muslims, online, yeah? Look what happened. Look at the power of the internet. That picture that you drew before the internet was in existence is now on the internet, yeah? Things can go viral on the internet. Things on the internet might be there for thousands or millions of years from now. You know the way internet storage works, technology, your little things you do, shaitan is going to come running. Yeah, because shaitan hates dawah. Yeah, for shaitan, dawah is a living nightmare. It's a living nightmare, yeah? Because look, with the people that are doing shirk and kufr, shaitan's job is done, isn't it? He's laughing, he puts his feet up. They're doing everything evil, they're doing shirk and kufr. they're going to end up potentially in the hellfire forever. His job is done. He doesn't have to sweat, right? But when the Muslims step up and start doing da'wah, it's like a nightmare for shaitan. He's like, oh my God, now they're going to save people from the hellfire, right? Now they're going to be saved themselves. Right? It's a shock for shaitan, right? So you get my point, guys. Internet is powerful was the point I was trying to illustrate, that you could do a tweet, as I said earlier, you do a vlog. So try to do something online. Do something, share videos, do a Facebook Messenger group or something, WhatsApp group, do a vlog. Do something where you're online interacting, but don't neglect the offline either. Remember the real life dawah out there, dawah by actions and handing out the books and the leaflets, street dawah, exhibitions, all of it. If you do it all together as a unified thing, you'll find dawah very interesting and it will come together in a really good way. You'll find powerful rewards. So, characteristics of the caller, you know the qualities of the da'i, right? Actions are judged by intentions. If there's anything, I keep repeating it over and over again. I keep saying to you guys, dawah is easy, dawah is easy, dawah is easy, which I firmly believe, right? I can't lie to you guys, right? However, what is the hardest bit in dawah that I've experienced, or you will experience? Again, it's our old enemy, shaitan. The hardest bit is your niyat, you know, your intentions. If you start to give a bit of dawah and you start to get more involved in it, shaitan will come running and he will play games with your intention. Are you doing it for name? Are you doing it for fame? Are you doing it for money? Are you doing it for dunya? You know, all your intentions will get polluted and knocked here and there. Why are you really doing the dawah? Is it so you can tell other people in the mosque, I handed out books, I've done a good dawah today, or whatever, you're bragging about your deeds, or whatever you do, right? So, it's not a game, it's not a shahada tally, it's something that you owe to Allah, not owe to you. We must be sincere and genuine when talking to non-Muslims. What comes from the heart goes to the heart. You know, if you're going to be insincere, make up statistics, make up lies, Islam, there's there's 2.1 billion Muslims in the world. But the internet, the statistics are saying there's 1.6 billion. You know, if you exaggerate something or lie or whatever, firstly, it's lying a major sin. And secondly, you're being insincere. And you know, if they can't see it, the non-Muslims or whoever you're giving dawah to, who's going to see it? Allah can see it, isn't it? Allah knows if you're being sincere. Allah sees and knows everything, right? So be very careful. Obviously, it's not based on ignorance, or emotions, or unknowns. You know, don't go into areas you don't have knowledge of. Convey from me, even if it's one ayat. This is very important, guys, because a lot of people say when I do these courses, they say to me, look, I want to give dawah. They put their hands up, the question. I want to give dawah, but I don't have the knowledge. I have to first learn so much, then I can go out and be a da'i. It's a big trap from shaitan. Everyone in this room, every single person, including the kids, yeah? Even I'd argue if there's a 6-year-old, 3-year-old, whatever, even a 3-year-old, will know that there's Allah and there's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're ready to be able to share that knowledge. You've got so much knowledge in this room, you know, to be able to give dawah to non-Muslims, right? Just do it on authentic knowledge, right? End of the day, the non-Muslims, what do they know? They don't know anything, really, let's be honest. They know Islam is terrorism, and terrorism is Islam, yeah? The media's pumped it out for the last 20 years. That's what's pushed out from that form of dawah, right? So you guys know so much. You know what Hajj is, what is sadaqah, what is zakah, 2.5%, what is a miswak, what is orphans, you know, what's the status of parents and how important are orphans in Islam, and all this knowledge you've got. The non-Muslims, if you ask them, if we called a non-Muslim into the center here, into the mosque, right, and we said to them, write the word Quran in English transliteration, how would you write it? Some of them will write Q, O or something like that, they'll struggle. The next guy will put K, U or something. They probably can't even write Quran in the English translated meanings of how you would spell it, let alone have they experienced the Quran in Arabic and the true miracle of it. These guys are in a spiritual vacuum, in a void, in a dark place, right? So we need to be able to reach out, engage with them, call them in a good way, and just share that little bit of knowledge you've got. Don't let shaitan play that game. He'll always tell you, you're not, you know, you've got to be Dr. Zakir Naik, someone special with loads of verses of Quran, then you give dawah. I can tell you now, you don't need any verses of Quran to give dawah. Yeah, obviously you've all got verses of Quran. Everyone knows Fatiha, everyone knows Surah Ikhlas. You've already got all that knowledge. You should share that with them. Just read Surah Ikhlas to someone. It's of the best dawah that you could be doing. Just to recite Ikhlas and tell them what it means. You know, he's eternal, he's absolute, right? So when you say eternal, what do you mean? When we say Allah is eternal, we're saying he's been there before time, space and matter. You're explaining who Allah is. Before time, space and matter, he's eternal. He's always been there. He's the first, he's the last. Yeah, he wasn't born, nor does he give birth. Yeah, and there's nothing like unto him. You know, Surah Ikhlas. If you just broke that down, you're doing pristine dawah, amazingly powerful dawah, right? So These are very important, brothers and sisters. You know the characteristics, right? We'll go through these and we'll take maybe, I don't know, a 3-minute break if anyone wants to get tea, coffee, or whatever the snacks or whatever you want to do. Stretch your legs. And we'll take a little 2-3 minute break after this slide, right? And we're about halfway through anyway, so timing's going okay. So basically, look, we know a lot of this stuff already, but it's a good reminder. Being kind and gentle, you know, rifq. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke about rifq. Yeah, rifq is the gentleness. That's the word in Arabic. It means gentleness. So the hadith says, if you put gentleness in any matter, it only but beautifies it. If you remove it from any matter, it pollutes it, it makes it ugly. Yeah. So anything you do, brothers and sisters, anything you do in your lives, whether it's your speech, your actions, whatever you're going to do, always add gentleness to it. The rifq, the gentleness, this element of being very gentle is very important, right? Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was always like this, always kind and gentle, forbearing. So anything you do, like for example, I know one of the youth here, his parents might say to him, okay, we've got guests coming round, we're late, yeah? The guests are going to arrive in 5 minutes, we haven't even made the salad, they really like our salad, and everything's late with the food. You chop the tomatoes, yeah? Yusuf, my son or whatever, right? You chop the tomatoes, quickly cut them. What does Yusuf do? He doesn't get the knife and go whack like that. Does he smash the tomato, juice everywhere, mess everywhere in the kitchen? Gentleness, right? You have to use it in all the ways that it can come in, right? Don't be harsh. A verse in the Quran, if you had been harsh-hearted with them, they would have run away from you. You know, you drive people away. If we're going to come with harshness, sternness, rudeness, people won't like you. They won't come to you. You've got to be like a magnet. In the dawah, you've got to be their best friend within 10 seconds when you meet the person, especially street dawah. Within 10 seconds, you've got to be their best friend, so they come to you like a magnet, right? Soft-hearted, you know, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would lend an ear to all the folk, the downtrodden, the orphans, the needy. He was very, very welcoming. Yeah, anyone could speak to him. He was soft-natured. People, like a magnet. People would come to that goodness, right? Good manners, of course, akhlaq. Elderly person is there, give them some water or something, give them a chair, pull out a chair for them, help them, everything. Polite tongue. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never swore, he never used rude language or foul words, swear words. Never in his life. No hadith, nothing talks about this. It doesn't occur in the history of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he ever swore. So we don't get angry and say, you know, you start arguing and you start using rude language with whoever you're giving dawah to, just to win the argument or whatever, right? Ego and pride. Again, you know, this is very bad. You just trying to win the argument, your ego comes in, just trying to prove Islam is right and arguing the wrong ways. You know, when the pride comes in, maybe you're proud of Islam, or the wrong type of pride, yeah? Where your ego and nafs and this stuff sort of takes over and the truthhood comes down a rung, and you try to overpower the person using just your ego and pride comes in, not like knowledge-based or truth-based, right? Body language, obviously smiles, handshakes, goodness, kindness, in that way, you know, all the good stuff you could do. If it's a person, you meet someone and you get friendly with them, maybe you hug them, do all these good things. But look, the key thing, I want to sort of exemplify all these characteristics with one little short story. We'll have a little break after the story, right? So the story goes like this. There was a brother in London somewhere. Apologies if you've heard the story before, but for some people they've not heard the story. And it exemplifies many of these points, right? The body language, like the smiles, specifically what we're going to talk about. The gentleness, soft-hearted. This brother, he encompassed a lot of these good qualities of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his dawah. So what he did is this. Look, he was doing a table, street dawah. You know, like the brothers do street dawah, right? He's doing street dawah. He's a very smiley brother. He's smiling while he's giving this street dawah, right? Good characteristic, isn't it? To smile. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiled so much. He welcomed the people. He warmed their hearts, right? So the brother smiling at the table all the time. He's a good smiley brother. Handing out books, smiley interactions, conversations. He's doing really well, right? Then this lady comes to the table, this like English lady, very upset, very irate, yeah? Probably red-faced, right? She comes to the table. She doesn't like this dawah thing that he's doing here, right? She doesn't like the Muslim being here. Maybe he's an immigrant or whatever. You know, some of them have that mindset, right? They think, look, you come to our country and you give dawah and you convert our people, the Christians, my Christian brothers or whatever, and you make them Muslims. And we go to Saudi Arabia, we try to open a church, you put us in prison. Yeah, if we go to, I don't know, Malaysia and we try to propagate Christianity, you cause us trouble. You know, you start getting the police on us and stuff like that, right? It doesn't work, right? So whatever reason it was, I don't know the reasons, but she's upset. So she came to the table upset, really angry with the brother. And you know what she did? She spat on the brother. Yeah? She spat in the brother's face, right? It was a very disgusting thing to do. So the spit hits the brother's face, right? Spit. What's he doing? He was smiling all the time, and he still keeps smiling. This is where I have to hand it to the brother, that he's super patient, right? He still keeps smiling. He goes to his pocket, he pulls out tissues from his pocket. He's got a packet of tissues, he pulls out tissues, he takes out a tissue, he wipes off the spit off his face, still smiling, very, very calm and collected in his manners, right? He wipes off the spit off his face, and then in her rage, she's got spit dribbling down her face, you know, like the spit is running from her face. He pulls out a second tissue, smiling, gives it to her, lets her wipe off that spit off her face, right? And then she storms away into the crowd, she disappears, gone, right? She goes home, she's like trying to think now. She's in bed, nothing's settled in her heart, do you understand? She's shocked, isn't it? He's smiling in the beginning, I spit on him and he's still smiling. What did I do wrong? You know, what should I have done? Should I have sworn? Basically, she's got all this stuff going on in her mind. She's tossing and turning in bed, doesn't add up. You know, what was it? What happened that day? Who is this guy, right? She's really curious, right? So 2 weeks later or sometime later, she goes back to that same Dawah area in London, the Dawah stall. She tries to find the brother, the person, tries to inquire a little bit more, you know, what are you guys about? You guys are like aliens or something, right? She goes back, she has a little bit of conversation or whatever. What do you think happened? Yes. The brother at the front, I don't know if you could catch what the brother said. She accepted Islam. She reverted or converted, whichever term you want to use. She became a Muslim, right? She accepted Islam, took Shahada and everything. The story continues, because obviously I work in Dawah, and we meet many of the Da'is, people, Muhammad Hijab, Musa Adnan, he's working from our office now. All these people that are involved in Dawah, they come to our office and stuff, so we pick up the stories. These two people got married. So that's how the story ends, on a very romantic note. This brother and sister, the one she spat on him, they got married, obviously halal, she's become a Muslim, and that's how the story ends, on a very kind of nice romantic kind of note. Sorry to drop that romance there, but you know what I mean, it's a good ending to the story. So that's what happened, brother. So look, what's the moral of the story? Do you get the moral, guys? Look, he emulated Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He smiled, yeah, and he was forbearing. He didn't say, you spat on me, and start getting crazy and mad. Look at us. If we got spat on, we're going to get really upset, isn't it? You've dirtied my clothes, you spat on my face. We're going to start doing run towards the wrong thing. But he was very patient, smiling, and from his good, he planted the seeds of Dawah. That's what he did. He planted the seeds of Dawah in her heart. The curiosity, the seed. It planted, it took some weeks to grow. She came back and she accepted. So what we'll do, brothers and sisters, we'll take a, 5-minute break, yeah? Please help yourself. Brother Yusuf's laid out loads of snacks, cakes or whatever, crisps, whatever you need. Please help yourself. Don't sit there like, rigid. Enjoy your teas and everything, and then we'll resume in 5 minutes, inshallah. So basically, brothers and sisters, you could take your snacks back to your desk. Yeah, you could eat from your table. There's not a problem. We've got about 45 minutes, so I'll try to get through the content quickly as I can, inshallah. So basically, this slide is saying engage with people on their level. So obviously, somebody that's very young or whatever, don't use complicated arguments. A university professor, he studied philosophy or whatever, and you studied it as well. Use their language. Engage with the person on their right level. It's quite an obvious point. It's quite common sense, right? You don't want to complicate things for youngsters or whatever. Keep it on a good level for the right person, right? Don't go to extremes in any way, right? We're a balanced nation. For example, any forms of extremism in our speech, for example, like actions and speech, like hate speech and horrible things like that. We shouldn't be extreme in any ways, right? Keep the call to Tawheed. Don't talk too much about politics or, for example, the hudud or homosexuality or something like that. Yeah, we know this is not allowed in Islam, or it's a sin, for example. But don't make that the be-all and end-all. Don't make that the topic of the day, that you just talk about, homosexuality is not allowed, and you start to veer away from Tawheed or the hudud. Yeah, it's in Islam, but don't just scrutinize or focus on that one area, the Islamic punishments, right? Or, like I say, politics. Look, guys, let's be honest, yeah? ISIS and these crazies out there, of course we're against them, yeah? We're openly clear about that, yeah? Bombing someone, like when the bomb goes off in Iraq, it kills a 7-year-old girl who's Muslim, It kills a 70-year-old lady who's Christian. These ISIS group, these terror acts are not from Islam. We can make these points clear, but don't keep on and on and on about it, because you'll notice your conversation will get steered only in that direction. You'll have a conversation with someone, could be a friendly non-Muslim, and it'll just be on and on about ISIS and terrorism, and you'll just get drowned out. The call to Tawheed will disappear. So keep it generic, keep it balanced, yeah? The hadith here says, beware of extremism in religion, because the only thing that destroyed those before you was extremism in religion, right? Giving dawah now. Think of some of the difficult questions that people could ask about Islam. Anybody? Can you think of any? What do you think at the front, brother? Think of a question that's really difficult that a non-Muslim might ask you, or is very commonly asked. Sister at the back, I'll come back to you, brother, yeah? Yes, sister, you can shout it out.
Why is there war in the Middle East?
Excellent question. Good one. It always comes up. Yeah, look. And killing in general, right? Like Sunnis kill Shias. Shias kill Sunnis, right? You don't see Protestants killing Catholics, right? Maybe in Ireland some years ago. But the Sunni Shia thing is happening in Iraq now. It's happening in Syria. It's happening in maybe Yemen. It's been happening in the Iraq-Iran war in the 70s, 80s. All the time, Muslims killing Muslims, or killings here and there. Wars. Even they'll say the wars are all in the Muslim lands. You come to the West, Canada's not got a war. Yeah, New Zealand's not got a war. But if you look in the Muslim world, it's on fire. Syria, Yemen, Burma, this place, Saudi, whether it's attacking this country, whatever's going on, the world politics, they try to shoot that question on your head, right? Difficult question to answer. Any other difficult topic areas? Yes, brother at the front.
Like if you ask about Qadr.
Qadr, yeah? Excellent. This one comes up a lot. Yeah, you drank alcohol, but didn't God will everything in the beginning beforehand? 50,000 years ago before creation, Allah had destined and willed everything to happen anyway. He willed it to happen. He knew you were going to drink. Why get punished for it if he knew already and he destined those actions, right? The thing about free will. Obviously, we answer this with the free will. We say humans have got a free will. They can make the choice. So the choice is where it counts, right? Brother, you were going to say one at the front, and then we shot to the sister at the back. You can say yours, yeah.
I was just going to say that the extremism keeps coming back. Why else?
Good. Excellent one, brother. Fantastic. Look, it keeps coming up, guys. What's in the media now? Terrorism and Islam, extremism, all this thing that they keep putting on labels on the Muslims is very common, yeah? You guys are terrorists, you kill the most people, they try to claim that you're always bombing things and you're killing people. Islam is a religion of extremism and terrorism. They try to put that in your mind. But we know we're peaceful people. We're peace-loving people. We follow peace, and that's what Islam should be. That's how Islam operates. It calls to Allah, calls to peace. One of Allah's names, As-Salam, the peaceful, the source of all peace, right? The most peaceful. So we're not into terrorism, right? So look, the point is, you could get asked 101 difficult questions, right? Loads of difficult questions. This one and that one, I don't know, there's loads and loads. Like, for example, the one that leaves Islam, you have to kill him. He's murtad, yeah? He's apostate. You have to execute him. But Christians in Christianity, if you leave Catholic Christianity, nobody comes after you with a sword or says you have to kill them now. Right? That's how they try to put it, right? So, the problem is, I won't do the role play because time is short, but imagine someone stood up and I asked you one difficult question. Okay, why do you do this? Why the extremism in religion? Christians aren't killing Christians, or very rarely. You Muslims are killing years after years, for centuries you're killing each other. From the time of the Khawarij or whenever, they're killing, Muslims are killing, right? There's always coming up, right? Then I ask you second difficult question, third one, fourth one, fifth one. A common one, that's always in the media and the EDL and everyone, the age of Aisha, radiallahu anha, when she married Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they say young age and all this stuff. They try to make horrible claims about who he was and stuff, right? Wrong things, right? The point is, you could be asked 1,000 of these difficult questions and you're struggling to answer. How do you fight this one off, fight that one off? How do you deal with that one? What's the knowledge for this one? All these difficult questions are going to overburden you if you go out and do dawah, right? And when they've asked question number 1,000, they'll go back to question number 1 again. That's all they'll do. And you've forgotten what 1,000 was. And they give you an endless cycle of questions. These are the problems that can come up, right? An endless cycle of questions. You don't satisfy the questioner. You don't really call to Allah. You're just firefighting. Why can't women drive in Saudi? That's what the news says. Women in Saudi can't drive. You're like, it's not, I don't know, it's the politics of Saudi Arabia. Then they might turn around to you and say, yeah, but isn't Saudi Arabia where the most pristine Islam is, the most conservative Muslim country, practicing the most best form of Islam? That's how I've understood it. Then you've got to answer that one and the next difficult one, right? The point is, you'll get an endless cycle of questions. It keeps on and on, difficult questions. Opens the door to argumentation, gives a false notion about Islam. The point is, guys, you don't have to answer every question when you do dawah, either online or offline. If someone asks you a difficult question, who said you have to answer it? Who said that's the best approach? What you do, guys, it's about perspective. Imagine all the guys on that side of the room are wearing red glasses, right? And they say they're non-Muslims, right? Everyone on this side is wearing clear glasses, say they're Muslims, right? What are we trying to do in terms of, if we want to change worldviews, how does that relate to the glasses? What would you do with your glasses? Excellent, guys. You'd swap them over, isn't it? So they see everywhere red lenses. They see that this white walls is red. The Muslims are seeing the real colour, the creamy white colour. So you want to swap glasses. You want to swap worldviews. You want them to see the lenses of Islam or Tawheed. And you want to be able to get a world understanding of it. We know their worldview. It's shirk, it's kufr, it's disbelief, or whatever, many gods or whatever, right? So we want to swap glasses. So the way we do it is with the go-wrap approach. Go-wrap, what it does is, it's a specific dawah technique. It puts the foundations of Tawheed first. One answer to most questions, reasoned and logical, avoids difficult issues, cuts potential for argument. Go-wrap is the acronym. So G is just God, or God's existence. You can remember it as God. So if you memorize Go-wrap, the acronym, just put it at the back of your head like an acronym, a tool. Just remember G is God. So you got God. O is oneness. R is revelation or Quran, just revelation. A doesn't really stand for anything, and prophethood. So you got God, oneness, revelation, prophethood. That's all the acronym does for you. What it does, where it's powerful and good, if you're in a dawah conversation, either online, you're typing or whatever, WhatsApp group, whatever, on your phone, or in person, you're chatting away, the acronym at the back of your head, if you get a mind block or you lose which way to steer the conversation, when you go back to Go-wrap, the acronym, you're like, okay, I've talked about God, now I should be talking about oneness. Very important for dawah, yeah? Now I should talk about the Quran, because that's the miracle, right? And now about the prophets and how they come into the picture, right? So it gives you this guidance. It's a tool, guys. So don't get too drawn out on the details. Obviously, like I said, you've got your notes and stuff like that. So Allah is maximally perfect and all-knowing. This is the logic behind Go-wrap, right? Allah is maximally perfect and all-knowing. Therefore, in all our affairs, we should refer back to Him. Therefore, human beings should submit to Allah. It's a chain of logic, right? He's perfect, we're not, we're needy, Allah's free of needs, therefore everything goes back to Allah, worshipping Him, right? Shaitan was the first pseudo-rationalist, right? What did he do? When Allah commanded, bow to Adam, he replied, I'm made of fire, smokeless fire, right? And he's made of clay, I'm better than him. He tried to use rationalization, his logic and mind, to justify the rejection to Allah, to say, look, because I'm better than him, therefore I shouldn't be bowing. And he rejected Allah. See, we don't do this in the Go-wrap, the approach, the call, the dawah. We use the correct chain of logic. Allah is perfect, we are imperfect. Therefore, we refer everything back to Him, we worship Him alone. It's a simple chain of logic, right? So now, you've got to understand that Go-wrap, this method that we're talking about, what we're going to learn, it's not the only method of dawah. Like you can see in the diagram, the orange one is Go-wrap, but there's other ways. Self-reflection, that's a form of dawah, effective dawah. Observing Muslims, we'll talk more about those ones later on, right? Understand, so use it as a map, not a rigid structure, it's just an acronym. Understand the steps rather than memorizing the words, so get this little flow of it. Make it your own, apply your personality and knowledge. Practice makes better. Very simple, right? And remember what I said earlier? You guys have got so much knowledge about Islam, and your personality is there as well, your characteristics. You might work in the world of accountancy or finance. You could talk about Islamic finance, how it's very just, equal system, how the zakah, it deals away with the poverty problem. Everyone has good wealth distribution, inheritance laws, they're perfectly tuned, so everyone's got good amounts. Everything works in Islam. It's a divine religion, right? It's divinely revealed. It's perfect in that sense. So, firstly, we've got initiation. Just before the Go-wrap starts, you have to initiate the conversation. You have to start it, isn't it, guys? So how does it start? There's two ways. Initiation is that bridge between the dawah and the starting point. So it's interaction, right? Between interaction and dawah. So basically you've got active or passive. Active is obviously, like the brother, when I told you in the story, the brother who got spat at, he was actively giving dawah. He's on a dawah table, giving out books. You might do the same online. That's active dawah, because you're actively going out and doing it. Passive is like this. Passive example is, you work in a company, I don't know, Oracle, right? Some IT company. You work in Oracle, and for 2 weeks you've not taken lunch with your colleagues as you normally would for the last 11 months, right? You're not taking lunch, and your colleagues are getting a bit worried. They're like, for 2 weeks you didn't eat any lunch with us. You always sit in the cafe, restaurant, you always eat lunch with us. Have we upset you? Something gone wrong? Why for the last 2 weeks you just ignore us and you sit at your desk? And then you tell them, that's because it's Ramadan, I'm fasting, so I'm not going to be eating lunch between sunrise and sunset, I don't eat. And then they're like, okay. So it's very passive dawah. Do you see what I mean? It's like they came to you, then you replied. It's not like the active style. So say someone comes in this passive way, this passive initiation. So they come to you, excuse me, why do Muslims pray 5 times a day? Obviously your character comes in initially. That's the first thing they're going to judge. There's a saying in psychology, they say someone makes the judgment about someone within the first 10 seconds of meeting them. Allahu alam how true it is, right? Psychology. But say it's true, within 10 seconds, what you should aim to do as a da'i is become their best friend within 10 seconds. Goodness, characteristics, the qualities, all that good stuff, pump it out. So politeness, shake hands, smile, greet them, thank them for asking the question. The question, why do you pray 5 times a day? Then you bring the concept. This is the important part I want you guys to internalize. Like I say, it's in your notes. You don't answer the question directly. You don't say, okay, we pray 5 times a day because in surah this of the Quran, Allah says establish regular prayer and and do the zakah, pay the zakah, whatever. You don't have to bring this evidence on the plate like that immediately. What we do is we say, to understand why we do this, pray 5 times a day, don't drink alcohol, wear hijab, whatever it is, I need to go through a few key principles about our faith. That's what you answer. So you bring it back to the foundations of Islam. And you don't have to word it in that wording. You can say, look, in order to understand the answer to your question, can I explain to you the foundations of Islam or some fundamentals of Islam, or what is Islam? Can I explain to you what is Islam? And they'll be like, okay, you will explain the basics, because they don't know what Islam is. That's why I kept telling you guys in the beginning, I was trying to get that point, hit the point home, that they don't understand anything about Islam, the non-Muslims, right? Or very, very little, or the wrong message of Islam. Then you get an agreement with them. Either they agree, okay, please explain, this fundamentals of Islam, or they disagree. If they disagree, what would you do, guys? What would you do, brother, if they disagree? They're like, I haven't got time to hear the fundamentals of Islam, I'm going to catch a bus. How would you end it? You say that again, please, brother? Would you? Well, you could. It's funny. We kind of laugh at uncle. You reminded me of another uncle, right? Uncle reminded me of another uncle, and this. See, the uncle said a valid thing. You could say that. It's Quran at the end of the day, right? No one can make fun of it, right? We can't mock the answer. But he reminds me of another story. There was a Polish guy, a non-Muslim, at a bus stop, right? It's sort of similar, right? And this Polish guy, non-Muslim, and an uncle came to the bus stop, and the uncle was like very direct to the non-Muslim guy. He kind of got friendly with him at the bus stop. Over maybe they travelled to work same time or whatever. So the uncle Muslim said to the non-Muslim guy, the Polish guy, if you don't become a Muslim, you're going to the hellfire. He just told him straight like that, right? But alhamdulillah, we're laughing, right? We're laughing. But you know what happened to the Polish guy? He became a Muslim. He accepted Islam. He converted to Islam, right? So look, you can use whatever approach you want, right? But the point is, what I would do, look, with the guy that's like, I don't have time, he might be telling the truth, he might be trying to get rid of you. We don't know the hearts, only Allah knows the intentions, right? But you could say to him, look, okay, maybe you haven't got time now, maybe we can swap numbers, I'll explain to you later, I can send you a link of a video, or you give him a book as a gift. You say, look, okay, you're in a hurry, street dawah for example, here's a book called the Quran, please study it if you've never read it. Would you want to read it? The guy confirms it. Yeah, I'll read it. I'll read a lot. Please, I've never read the Quran. I've always wanted one. Thank you. And he disappears. You gave some good ending to the dawah, right? So anyway, you got the concept, guys. Don't answer these difficult questions. So that one's easy, but it could be difficult. Why, for example, the difficult thing about the age of Aisha, the marriage, radiyallahu anha, right? The age of Aisha and the marriage, right? That could be very hot under the collar. You don't know how to answer it. The best answer, you get, in a sticky situation, right? So you take it back to the fundamentals of Islam. No one's forcing you to answer the questions directly, and that's what you do in the go wrap. You sort of sidestep the awkwardness, and you bring it to you are dictating what Islam is, not this media narrative. It's almost like some people are trying to tell us what Islam is and how Muslims should be. The narrative call, they're trying to define what a Muslim is. We're the Muslims at the end of the day. If you've got a bad tooth, right, you're a non-Muslim. I'll give you an example. If you've got a bad tooth, who do you go to? The policeman, the teacher, or the dentist? Who do you go to? The dentist, of course, isn't it? So a non-Muslim should go to a Muslim for the answers, right? You go to the right sources. So basically, there's exceptions to this, go back to the fundamentals of Islam. There will always be some exceptions. So it doesn't always work. We know that, right? And you have to gauge it in your own way with practice. However, let's look at some of the difficult ones. So I just want a yes or no. So let's test it out on our brother in the pink kind of purple shirt, right? So I say to you, brother, I say to you, okay, so brother, when someone goes murtad in your religion, say I'm like an EDL guy, right? And I've studied a bit of Islam in my crude sort of Tommy Robinson sort of way, right? And I'm like, if someone leaves Islam, you have to kill them. That's what it says in your books, in your scholars. If they become murtad, that's the term that I learned. When they exit your religion, Islam, you have to kill them, yes or no? I just want a yes or no. No, I don't want I want yes or no.
I won't answer because you need to give some context.
Okay. Doesn't answer my question. I just wanted yes or no. So when you go murtad, yes or no. Okay, look, you get the point, guys. The brother, it doesn't work. You know this forcing someone to give a yes or no. If someone tries it with you, what I would do is turn the tables. I would say to that person, say you ask the same question, I would reply back and say, how many days in the week? Yes or no? Yeah? What's your name? Yes or no? Make them feel uncomfortable and silly and see the stupidness of this technique that they're using, just forcing a yes or no. You know, politicians try this sort of stuff. They try to give a complex thing and just force a yes or a no when it needs more information to it, right? So yes or no, you can refute that easily. I heard you want to kill our babies. I heard you Muslims want to kill our babies. Brother at the back with the kind of grey thobe, yeah? I heard you want to kill our babies. Are you going to, I'll give you a clue. Are you going to reply like this? In order to understand the answer to your question, you have to understand the foundations of Islam. Would you? Obviously, we said it doesn't always work, right? So how would you answer it?
Just put a question back at them and say, what makes you think that? Explain a little bit more.
Good. You could throw the question back. That's a good approach. Throw it back on them. Make them like see like with the yes or no. Make them feel uncomfortable and like, put it back on them, or just tell them straight. Don't beat around the bush. Just tell them directly. Of course we don't want to kill your babies. Which Muslim wants to do that? It says in the Quran, if you kill one person, innocent person, it's like you killed all of humanity. What a ridiculous statement, yeah? Make it clear. Make the level playing field. Make the grounds clear, right? How do you know God exists? This is quite a special one. We'll cover it in the course. Because think about it, guys. Can you scientifically prove that Allah exists? What do you think? You can't, can you? Why is that? Why is that, brother? Why can't you scientifically prove that Allah exists?
Allah is beyond science.
Excellent. Stop right there, guys. Right? What did the brother say? He's beyond science, isn't he? Allah's metaphysical. He's transcendent. He doesn't have a physical space or dimension. You can't quantify Allah in the physical realm. You can't say he's of this height and size. He doesn't have any height or size, right? He's nothing like unto him. So he's beyond physics, time and space and matter. He's metaphysical. He's transcendent. He's out of the creation, right? So we won't practice the passive. Common sense agreement, guys, it's like this. Look, it's got the funny picture there showing lack of common sense, right? Basically, if you have time to agree upon common sense, it's something nice to bring in your dawah. So if you have time, you can bring this step, right? We won't dwell on it, guys, but it goes like this. Imagine you talk to a Christian for 2 hours, right? 2 long hours. You've explained that God exists, He's one and everything. Then 2 hours later, he just says to you, well, I just feel that Jesus is the Son of God, right? It goes beyond common sense, right? Or you've got maybe the atheist type guy, and he talks to you for a long time, then he just drops this nonsense on you. You know, everything we see around us, this reality that you see, there's some aliens out there. They beam down these messages into your mind using microwave energy or something, right? It's all a computer generated picture in your mind. We're like in a matrix illusion. So this is no common sense now. You know, he's in some science fiction fantasy nonsense, right? You got to, if you can in the beginning, say to the person, especially online where you don't know the guy, or even offline, this is the first time you met him, say, look, in the beginning of our conversation, can we agree upon common sense, right? You don't use it with everyone. It's very robotic. But where you think he's a real stranger, yeah, he might go down a funny path. Let's just touch upon common sense. Can we agree on common sense in our conversation? Can we agree that, look, if you cross a road, you look left, you look right, then you cross the road. You don't shut your eyes and cross the road, you get knocked over, right? And if they agree, they agree. If they're not going to agree upon common sense in the beginning, then there's no point really going further with the dawah. It won't work, right? Because nothing's static then. It's all wobbly and wishy-washy and it won't work, right? So fitrah is very, very important, guys, in our dawah. Understand that the end goal is to awaken the fitrah, the truth from within, to awaken the fitrah. That's what we're trying to do in our dawah. Remember what I said to you about that timetable verse? And that brother asked us, what was the verse? The verse that impacted me, it shook up my fitrah, because it was revelation. It shook up my fitrah. It bumped me. It was like knocked me back to thinking about Allah and rectifying myself, right? But it's important to note that rational arguments, right, about the existence of God are a means, not an end. So fitrah, the hadith, every child is born in the state of fitrah, then his parents make him a Jew, Christian or Magian. So fitrah is the natural state. You know that every child is born believing in one God, or believe that there's only one true God to be worshipped, right? So there's the fitra clouded, guys. The fitra is not located in the heart, even though the diagram shows the heart. The fitra is, again, it's like a metaphysical thing. It's like the ruh. You know the ruh? It doesn't. Number one, we don't know much about the ruh anyway. Allah has clarified that. But the ruh doesn't have a physical dwelling spot. Yeah, it's a metaphysical concept. Allah's put it in everyone in the way He knows how it's put in there, how it's made up, how it's formed. Is it there in a physical realm? We don't have knowledge of it. The fitra is the same thing as a disposition. It's a state that we're in. We're born with this belief innate in us, yeah? But we're not saying it's in the heart. The diagram was just trying to explain that there's a fitra, right? So it gets clouded. How do we uncloud it? So remember, you're trying to be fitra doctors. In your dawah, you're trying to be fitra doctors. You're trying to uncloud the fitra to make your dawah effective, right? So, Revelation, the Quran. What did I say? I told you this story many times about my story, the verse of the Quran. There's a non-Muslim out there, somewhere on YouTube, and this guy has got all the satellite channels at home. He puts them on, he flicks through drama, sports, whatever. Hundreds of channels. He said, he confessed it in this YouTube video. He said, anytime I want to feel real peace in my heart, you know, sakina, peace, right? Get away from the work stress and the life and everything. Non-Muslim. He said, I go to this one channel that maybe doesn't even know the name of it. Channel whatever it is. Channel 500, right? He goes to the channel and it's Quran. You know, the audible Quran, the audio. He puts it on and he says, I feel a peace in my heart like I get from none of the other channels. Non-Muslim confession about the Quran. So Revelation, the Quran, can uncloud the fitra. Look, you'll see in the diagram, it gets unclouded, right? Experiences is another thing, good or bad. So let's, you know, bad could be you lose, say your whole family dies in a car crash, something really drastic, right? And it shocks you as a non-Muslim. You're like, why them? Why not me? You start to ask questions about life. Who did it? Is there a higher power? And the fitra gets unclouded. You start to question about God. Fitra gets bumped, yeah? Good experiences, loads of good things happen to you. Promotion at work, then you're a manager. Then you go out into life. You're a young guy, then you get married. You have the kids you wanted. You go on holidays. You've got free time. You can think. Everything's cozy, right, and brilliant. And then what happens is you get time to think again about those questions of existence. Who gave it to me? Who do I thank? Where did it come from? Why is it me? Questions about life, fitra gets unclouded. Reflection and introspection, interesting. Reflection, you look around at the signs of Allah, the sun, the moon, the stars, everything. You reflect on the creation and the fitra gets unclouded. You know, the beauty of the sun on the sunset. At the same time, the sun is a giant ball of energy. You bring it closer to the earth, we all melt. You take it further away, we all freeze. Introspection, you know, you look internally. Allah says in the Quran, of the biggest signs are in the human body. Right? If, for example, you cut yourself with paper, what happens after half an hour? It repairs itself, doesn't it? The body, it grows back. You don't even see the cut. It's like it wasn't there in the first place. A self-repairing machine is how advanced this body is. It's amazing. You drop your phone or scratch your phone, what happens? Does it repair itself? It can't do it, can it? Right? Especially if it's an Android, right? So the point is, guys, look at the body. Now, my colleague Sabur Ahmed, he was telling me a story. He goes, look at the body. They're only finding out things now, right? In the brain, there's all these nerves and arteries and veins. One of them in the brain is so special, it's like cut, yeah? It's open-ended. What it does is, there's a membrane in the brain, and when the brain wants to, through that artery, which is open-ended, when it needs to, it drops a drop of blood out onto the membrane. What does the body do? It does a blood test on itself. We think we have to go to the doctors and get an injection. This body is doing a blood test on itself, checking itself out, analysing itself. These are things they're only discovering now. So this wakens up the fitra. There was an atheist lady. She was the lady that helped with the childbirths and stuff like that as her job as a nurse. She said, if there was anything to make me believe in Allah, basically, it would be the childbirth sequence. It's like a miracle in front of my eyes. I see it daily. She was that, telling the truth about the fitra, right? Rational arguments we're going to cover now. So basically, G of God's existence. There's a chain here. You can bring it how you want. You can analyze it in your notes. Time is a bit short. But basically, you'll tell them, I believe in a creator. You give your belief. The reasons why are, and we're going to look at the reasons. Then the same thing. Either they agree or disagree. If they agree, you can move on to the O of go rap. If they disagree God exists, what do you think? Are they ever going to become a Muslim? What do you think, guys? If they disagree that God exists, there's no God, can they become a Muslim? Inshallah, but generally speaking, in your conversation, it's not getting very far, is it? They're saying they're atheist, hardcore. They're not going to become Muslim, are they? They're going to be on there's no God. So what I'm saying is, don't waste all your energy on that one guy or person. Go to someone else. Give other people dawah. If you can't, flog the dead horse. He, guys, disagrees that God exists. There's no point going on to oneness now. So the guy that disagrees, polite goodbye, give him a book, take his number, keep the dawah going, but don't put all your energy and eggs in one basket and focus on him. So what you're going to do, what we're going to do, bring this in your dawah arguments, is some knowledge for you. Surah Tur, chapter 52, verses 35 to 36. Or were they created by nothing? It's a rhetorical verse. Or were they the creators of themselves? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? Rather, they are not certain. That last bit, Allah saying, of course, it's me that created everything. It's Allah. Rather, they're not certain. It's Allah is the creator. Yeah, Allah is the uncreated creator. So, or were they created by nothing? How would you refute that, brother? With the white jumper, yeah? Or were they created by nothing? The clues to the last bit of it. How would you refute that? How would you refute? I don't mean refute the Quran. How do you clarify the falsehood in that? So we know it's false, yeah? Because there's three options there. Were they created by nothing? Or were they the creators of themselves? That means self-creation, yeah? They themselves created themselves. Or they created everything, right? Or they are themselves the creators of the creation, right? So there's three options. The fourth answer, rhetorical verse, Allah says, rather they are not certain. So there's three possibilities here that Allah smashes apart. In the Quran, He destroys all these other creation options. Allah takes it all apart, He clarifies it. How do you sort of add to that, not add to, but how do you clarify the first one? Or were they created by nothing? How would you retort that, brother? How would you clarify? What would you say to that? I'll give you a clue.
What's that, the evolution argument?
Well, it could be, but what comes... Okay, they're trying to say we came from nothing. An atheist or someone, we just came from nothing. Chance, accident, Big Bang, came from nothing. The clue is in the word nothing. What do you think, brothers? What do you think, brother?
I mean, from where did nothing came then?
Good. Or word it another way. From nothing, what comes from nothing? Nothing. So you just tell the non-Muslim, nothing comes from nothing. It's basic philosophy. Something cannot come from nothing, yeah? Nothing comes from nothing. It's powerful in your dawah. Because when you tell that person, nothing comes from nothing, whenever I've used it in dawah, nobody's refused or refuted me or tried to argue, right? And these little things are like sticky sound bites, they work, right? Nothing comes from nothing. So the universe must have had it's here, so it must have had a start point. Big Bang in Islam, we don't necessarily say, we don't disagree with it, you know. There's mention of this phenomena is kind of alluded to or highlighted in the Quran, so we don't say it's an impossibility, but something caused the Big Bang, an uncaused cause, which is Allah, right? So, or were they the creators of themselves? Self-creation, what do you think? You know, some scientists, biologists, they talk about plants that replicate themselves. There's no pollination, there's no mate or whatever. It just replicates, self-creation. What do you think, brother? How is that logically wrong?
How did it start from?
Good. You're in the exact right area. So word it a bit more. Give me a bit more wording on it.
I mean, again, they can't come from nothing. So they are coming from self, but there must be a start. So
So what we're saying is something. This clicker, this mouse, it cannot be in existence and not in existence at the same time instance. It's a logical fallacy. It's like the nothing comes from nothing. Self-creation is impossible. You cannot be there and not be there at the same time. You know, like you said, the start point, it has to be, you have to start with something, but you've got nothing, right? So self-creation, logical fallacy, self-creation is impossible. It cannot work, it cannot exist, right? So Allah's breaking it apart in the Quran. Remember, this is a rational proof for God's existence. Remember, Allah doesn't talk a lot in the Quran about the proof of His existence. You can count it on one hand, the number of verses. This is one where Allah highlights arguments, right? Why doesn't He talk a lot about the proof of His existence? Why do you think? Why do you think, brother, at the front here? We covered it already. We covered the whole topic area already. Clone, kind of. What do you think, brother? We covered the thing with the heart. Do you remember the thing with the heart? Fitrah. Because Allah's put fitrah in everyone. We're already grown up. You know the atheist boy, at the age of 10, he keeps pumping out, there's no God. His parents is Dawkins or whatever, right? Hardcore atheist family. He's still got the fitrah. If he dies at the age of 10, where does he go? Exactly, he still dies as a Muslim believer, right? Allah's given the fitrah, so Allah doesn't have to talk about the proof of His existence. That's why dawah is so easy. When you go out in the world of dawah, don't think you have to go around proving to everyone God exists, then they'll become Muslim. Most people out there believe in God anyway. But a bulk majority of people out there, they believe in a God. What the God is, that's what you've got to clarify. Some is a Hindu God, this God or whatever. Most of God believers, even in one God, one creator power, they'll believe in it. There's 1 billion atheists in the world, 1.6 billion Muslims, 2.1 billion Christians. So the bulk majority of the world are God believers already. So dawah is very easy. You don't have to explain from the basics God exists. But this helps you explain to an atheist or someone who doesn't believe that God exists. The last one, It's a bit more complicated. Or were they the creators? So they themselves are the creators of the universe. Say there's very clever aliens, so super clever, advanced aliens, right? That they created parts of the universe. You know, they communicate in ESP. They've got super technology. They can travel at light speed. They make our internet look like smoke signals. They're so advanced. They created the universe. What's the next question you can ask about these super clever aliens? What's the next question you can logically ask? Yes, at the back, little girl. Sorry?
Who made that?
Perfect. You should come up the front and do the teaching, mashallah. Who created the aliens? Then you can ask the question again. But who created the aliens that created the aliens? And you can ask it into an infinite chain. It's called the infinite regress, right? So, for example here, say, for example, Brother Yusuf needs to go out and move his car, right? He's blocked the Imam's entrance or whatever, the Imam's parking spot. He has to move his car. The Imam's coming to lead whatever prayer, right? And Yusuf's in trouble. He's like, I need permission from our brother next to me to go and move my car. But this brother has to ask our brother with the purple shirt. I have to go and move my car, yeah? Our brother here has to ask our brother here, who asked about the verse of the Quran, right? He has to, and then this one has to ask this one. Imagine this went on in an infinite chain, permission chain, right? He has to ask permission. Infinite chain. Will Yusuf ever get to help the Imam?
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Basically, no, isn't it? He's never going to be able to move his car because it's an infinite chain. He's always like that, right? So you get my point, guys, right? This infinite regress, it's a bit of a deeper philosophical point, right? But infinite regress basically is another logical fallacy, a paradox. It won't happen, right? You'll never leave to move the car. Yeah, who created the aliens that created the aliens? And this is a good one to use on the who created God, which is such a nonsensical question. Who created God? This is a question that you cannot ask. I can justify that, right? You cannot ask this question because it's not a question. It's saying who created the uncreated creator. Uncreated and created, they negate each other. It's like asking zero, nothing. It's like asking where in MCWAS, where is the square circle? You cannot ask this question. It's a non-starter, right? It's a nonsensical. It's not a question you can ask, right? Who created the uncreated creator, right? Or can God create a rock so heavy that then he can't lift it? It's like saying, can the all-powerful do something against his power? He's all-powerful already. He can actualize all things, right? These things are like nonsensical red herrings. They don't make sense, right? So getting back to, I think one sister had a question at the back. Should we keep the questions to the end? Yeah, because what it is, I've only got about 10 minutes to cover two areas, and then we've got about 10 or 15 minutes. Remember your questions, note them down, write them down, and we'll pick them up at the end, right? So you've got this idea, guys. You can just take one of the points. Just tell a non-Muslim, look, nothing comes from nothing. Where did the universe come from? And they're like, okay, well, it must have there was a big bang. Okay, what caused the big bang? What started it? You know, you could take it back to Islam. Take it back to Allah, right? So there are the options. Created from nothing, nothing comes from nothing. Self-created cannot be in existence and not in existence at the same time instance. Created from something that is self that was created. Infinite regress problem, yeah, illogical fallacy, a paradox cannot happen. So therefore, created from something uncreated, which is Allah. So a few slides there. Oneness, guys, is very simple. I like to bring an analogy. You know, analogies and sticky things work very good in dawah because we're living in an age of what? Information overload. People are busy, lives, internet, too much information. Just keep things simple and sticky. Like, for example, you know, there's a whole topic area that I teach, specialist module of dawah. It's called the problem of evil and suffering. So they try to posit and say, your God, he's all powerful. Al-Qadir, for example, right? And at the same time, he's Ar-Rahman, all-merciful. Then why does he give the 8-year-old girl cancer? If he's all-powerful, why can't he just cure the cancer? If he's all-merciful, why did he give her cancer in the first place? Isn't that really cruel to an 8-year-old girl? She's innocent anyway. So they try to put this problem. The answer to it is a bit more detailed, but look, Allah is not just Al-Qadir and Ar-Rahman or Ar-Rahim, yeah? Allah is also Al-Hakim, the all-wise. Wisdom indicates reasons. Allah knows there's reasons for the girl to have cancer. There's a greater wisdom behind it. Allah's got a hikmat al-baligha, perfect all-encompassing wisdom, as he describes in Surah Qamar. So Allah's got this, basically Allah's got the picture, we've got the pixel. That's how it works with this problem of evil and suffering, right? But rather, and you know, Surah Kahf answers it, something looks on the apparent bad, but there's good. You know, evil is relative, and Allah didn't create absolute evil. I've sort of diverted away from the course, but what I'm trying to illustrate the point is, in your dawah, bring sticky sound bites. Nothing comes from nothing, this and that and the other. The good one for the problem of evil is, if there was no evil, you wouldn't know what good is. If there was no evil, you wouldn't know what good is. And this sticks in the minds of non-Muslims. They're like, it hits them like a wall, yeah? Because every time I've used it, in many cases of dawah, no one's refuted me. No one said, But that doesn't make sense. Even the atheist who believes in chance or whatever, he doesn't try to refute it and come from a different angle, right? So, oneness, I would explain it with the concept of wills. If there was two gods, hypothetically, God A, God B. God A wants to make the colour of MCWS, whatever the mosque, he wants to make it not white, he wants to change it to blue. God B wants to make it yellow, the decoration. So what's happening to these two gods if they want to do it same day, same time in the future? A saying yellow, B saying blue. What's going to happen? Go on? Yeah, conflict. Excellent. Fight, conflict of wills. So to have more than one God, that's what Allah says in the Quran. If there was more than one God, you would see chaos in the universe. Meltdown. It'll be destructive. Like one day it'll be sunny. It just wouldn't work. Yeah, they cannot exist. Even the way Allah describes it, He says, look, had there been, can you see the second ayat? Yeah, had there been within the heavens and the earth gods besides Allah, they both would have been ruined. So more than one God, oneness is so easy to explain. Look, even the way Allah words it, had there been within the heavens and the earth gods besides Allah. Allah doesn't even say that they're transcendent gods. He even kind of ridicules that. Within the heavens and the earth, other gods. He even lowers these other hypothetical gods. Look at the linguistic adab or perfection of Allah's miraculous book, the way Allah words it, right? So oneness is very easy. Now, we're on Revelation, the Quran. So Quran, a lot of this, look, bring it back to the need of the Quran. What's the overall message of the Quran? In one word, what is that? We know Tawheed, but give me a word in English, right? What's the message of the Quran in one word? Good, it gives guidance, yes?
I was going to say guidance.
Okay, well, it gives you guidance, but what's the message of it? The message doesn't say guidance. Yeah, you're close.
Believe.
You know it, you just got to...
Submit or justice.
The whole core message of the Quran. There's stories about prophets, there's this and that. What's the core message of the Quran?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It leads to that. But what's the thing you would walk away with? What's the message of the Quran? Close. Clue is with the Tawheed. What's the most important category of Tawheed? Go on. Yeah, the most important category. So there's categories of Tawheed. We covered them in the beginning. Rububiyyah, lordship. Asma wa sifat, names and attributes. What was the last one? Worship. That's the core message of Quran. Worship Allah alone. One true God. That's what the Quran keeps talking about. The only way we're going to get to Jannah, obviously Allah's mercy is going to define it, but it's the worship that we do. All our worship, speech, actions, whatever we do. So worship is the core message of the Quran. Bring that in your explanation of what the Quran is. Look guys, to give a sticky soundbite, because time is really ticking on, the way I like to bring it is a story. I like to say to the non-Muslim, look, every time you buy a gadget, a mobile phone, a computer, maybe a car, even a car, you always get, what do you get with it every time you buy it? Instruction manual always comes with these gadgets, right? Always tells you charge it like this, don't do this, do's and don'ts are in there. The Quran is an instruction manual, but for human beings. See what you did there? You did a little worldly, sticky analogy. These guys haven't read the Quran. Remember I said they're in a spiritual darkness. They don't know what Quran is. It's a miracle. It's in Arabic. They don't know nothing, right? So when you give them this, like with the instruction manual, then they're like, oh, I get it. Then you can tell them the meat on the bone. You tell them, okay, it's got do's and don'ts, like the instruction manual. Do not lie. Do not steal. Do not cheat, do not drink alcohol, be good to your parents, good to the orphans, good to your neighbours, give in charity. The do's and don'ts are in the Quran as well. And other things as well. History, knowledge, information, many things in the Quran. Tons of information. There's like scientific observations, right? We don't say scientific miracles, by the way, guys, right? We're trying to move away from this narrative because that's an oxymoron. Science doesn't lead to absolute truths. Miracle, we can't say this, there's no such thing as a scientific miracle. Yeah, don't get confused. Every verse in the Quran is a miracle. It's all Tawheed, all ayats, yeah? But we don't say scientific miracle. These two negate each other. Science is dynamic. It doesn't lead to absolute truths. It gives you estimations and knowledge and information, but it can't. Observations are static. This bottle is green. You observe it. It's always going to be green, even in millions of years, whenever, right? It's going to, as long as the temperatures don't change or whatever, it's static. But science is changing. Experiments and theories. old Newtonian physics, then there's like new ones, quantum mechanics. Newton was wrong, Einstein was right, old theories are gone. It keeps evolving, it keeps changing its dynamic, right? So we say there's observations in the Quran. Mountains have got roots, embryo, systems, water, sea and salt doesn't mix. It's all in the Quran. It's a miraculous observation because it was seen, like Prophet Muhammad talked about it, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam talked about it 1400 years ago, but we don't say it's a scientific miracle. We don't say that. It's an amazingly interesting observation, and we go with that thing, right? So to end about the prophethood now, P of prophethood, sorry, I went the wrong way. So you could talk about worship, the many forms that you know it comes in. You know, tell people about Islam. Tell them what is dua. Tell them a time that you made dua. Make it inspirational. Don't just say dua, we raise our hands and then we get something. Don't make it robotic. Say, for example, I was stuck somewhere once, driving, running out of petrol, baby in the back crying, wife is sick, midnight. Yeah, I've got all I've got on me, mobile phone's broken, can't call the AA. Right, got £20 in my pocket, sat nav, say you got sat nav, not the phone one, right? You got the TomTom, and it says on there, petrol station is so far, you're on red on the tank. In that time, you made dua to Allah, please Allah, let me reach that station. I've got 20 quid, I can get home, or the next services, or wherever I can use my card. All this stuff, and then you made dua, you begged Allah, this is a bad situation, wife is sick, baby's crying, and somehow on the fumes, you got to the petrol station, you literally ran out, it conked, finished in the petrol station. As you fill it, your dua was answered. It's an inspirational example that duas work, real life situation of a Muslim. This has an impact. If you make it arbitrary, yes, very robotic, too much theology, we are Muslims, we do this, we supplicate, you know, it won't strike a chord. There'll be like another boring lecture of Islam or you know, religious people. It won't work, right? So bring real life stories, this happened, bring the seerah, bring tadabbur, dhikr, whatever, right? Prophethood, guys, tell people, look, there was a whole chain of messengers, all of them came with the same message, which was what? What was the same message? Good, to worship one true God alone. That's a core message. Adam, Moses, Noah, Jacob, Jesus, all the prophets, Solomon, you know, Dawood, all of them up to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, same message. It's important because then it makes it understand, okay, before Christianity was Judaism, Prophet Moses was upon the same thing. But who was there before? What was there before Judaism? You know, they can then go back in history, isn't it, and understand there was only one true religion. Specifically about Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, 3 options, right? Well, 2 options, and there's only one answer, that he was a truthful prophet. But could he have been a liar, or could he have been deluded? This is quite interesting and important. Could he have been a liar? What was his famous nickname? Good, Sadiq al-Amin. So all the narrations, the hadith, the corpus of knowledge, all that testimony, which is solid ground knowledge about Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like some reports say, I've not superly in-depth studied it, but the most documented man in history is Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, before the internet existed. So capturing the data is easy now, it's there intact, storage systems, this is written down, people telling others, isnad, chain of narration. He was a truthful prophet. There's no hadith that said he lied anywhere. He spoke a word of a lie. Even though his enemies tried to claim he's a liar. And they tried to put the claim on him, he's a liar, right? It never held through in history. Because, you know, testimony is one of the biggest sources of knowledge. You know, people will try to tell you science is the big source of knowledge. That's where you get truths from, you know, scientific truths, and that's the way to knowledge. Science is very limited. Most of our knowledge that we deal with comes from testimony. Someone telling someone this happened and that happened. Do you understand? Yeah, it's a very, very wide area, right? So, he could not have been a liar. We rule it out, right? Deluded. He was saying falsehood, thinking it was truthful. Deluded in his message. Doesn't make sense, because like things happen in history. For example, the prophecies that he made. You know, the buildings will be built very tall by the Bedouins. Look at UAE. He prophesied this. Yeah, he spoke truthful words that came true later. So he wasn't speaking falsehood, right? He wasn't delusions, right? He spoke the truth. Also, some moments in history when Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's son died, Ibrahim, he died, right? And the sun and the moon eclipsed. The people came out and they said, this is happening, sun and the moon, is because you're a prophet, and this is a sign that when a prophet's son dies, these things eclipse, right? He got revelation and he replied to them. What did he say? The sun and the moon do not eclipse for the birth or the death of anyone. Right? He made that point clear, that understanding. If he was deluded, a delusional person, he would say, yeah, that's a sign that I'm a prophet, just waffling along, right? Going with a big sign, because eclipse happens every hundreds of years or 20 years or whatever, right? He didn't do that, he spoke the truth, right? And his message was consistent, he wasn't on a delusional path. Even the Quran today that we've got, right, the miracle, is there any delusions in it or any contradictions? If he was crazy, deluded, a'udhu billah is the claims, right? Delusional person, in the Quran would be contradictions. Surah Baqarah would say, shun intoxicants and gambling. Then later on it would say you can drink. It would be all mixed up if it was a delusional person, speaking falsehood, thinking he's correct. If he was delusional. Totally not the case. Quran is intact, perfect, miracle, brings nothing but benefits to society, extremely powerful book, and it's brought nothing but good. So, brothers and sisters, we're at the end of our time. I did promise little questions at the end. Other characteristics about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the goodness he did to society, even to animals. He was good environment, love, contentment, justice. So much knowledge you guys have got. You need to just go out and share it. Obviously at the end, Shahada. The important thing to note about Shahada is that obviously these reverts, they must understand what the Shahada means. It's very important. Allah talks in the Quran, He says, Fa'lam annahu la ilaha illa wastaghfir li dhanbik. Know that none has a right to be worshipped except for Allah alone, and then seek forgiveness for your sins. That verse in the Quran where Allah says Fa'lam, if any of you guys have studied Arabic, Fa'lam is the fi'l amr. Fi'l amr is the command tense. Allah's commanding you, you must have knowledge of what the Shahada means. If a Japanese guy walks into MCWAS, right? He walks in the masjid, into the center, and he just says, La ilaha illallah. Is he Muslim? What do you think? Maybe. Good answer. See, we're not clear. He could be Muslim, he's in a Muslim center, and he's saying Shahada. You take Hassan al-Dhan, you take him as a Muslim. But he could just be a Japanese guy visiting, he's atheist or whatever, he just heard that phrase and he repeated it. We're not sure. But he himself has to have knowledge of what the Shahada means. It's different at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyone saying Shahada, they knew back to front what it meant, because they were experts in Arabic language. They knew back to front the implications of Shahada. But nowadays, people are taking Shahada. Muslims that you see street dawah, online, offline, wherever, people are coming to Islam, but the problem is, they're these trophy Shahadas, these woolly Shahadas. They're in for 1 week, and the next week you never see the guy again. Or next 3 weeks later, he's disappeared. Never see him again. Finished. Nothing. No more Islam. No more in the mosque. No more Muslim. That's what's going on. So someone becomes a Muslim, befriend them, look after them, ask them if they've got any problems, help them, bring the community around them. Don't do what us guys do. We give them hugs and shakes and everything, handshakes and everything in the beginning, and there's bye-bye. We never want to know them. Want to find out. Swap numbers, getting to know their interests. I do a whole course on new Muslim mentorship. It's another whole dawah training course like this in itself, right? It's a long course, 3 or 4 hours. It details how you look after them. But some of the tips is like, don't make decisions for them. So don't make rulings for them. Let them decide themselves. Otherwise, if you say the wrong thing, it will come back to bite you. Like you said to the guy, you must get divorced now. You force a fatwa opinion. Don't do this. And make them get empowered. Let them become strong believers, right? Empower them. Don't handhold them. They're not little babies. In the beginning, they're babies. You show them where the mosque is, whatever. And then you make them empowered, right? In whichever way you can. Like... there was a guy, a non-Muslim was homeless, right? Homeless guy. What does he need, guys? What does he need, brother? If you're homeless and you become Muslim, what do you need? Home? Anything else? Food?
And people.
People as well, society, you need relationships, interaction. Anything else? What would constantly bring you food and things, and what would you need? Job and money, yeah? Good. So what did my friend do, who's a da'i? What he did is, because he had businesses, he had pizza shops, right? I think we're going to have pizza later, right? Brother Yusuf was saying, right? He had these businesses where he was able to take the homeless new revert Muslim man and put him into one of his shops. He resolved all the problems. What problems? Homeless, he's got a shop, he's got a house, a room in the pizza shop where he can sleep. Food problem, he's got all the food there. Money problem, he's working, making pizzas, he's got a job. So he strengthened him like that. Do you see my point, brothers? As a community, we can help the new Muslims. But if we go individualistic, selfish, keep away, then the problems, the reverts, they come in Islam and they leave. But I'm not saying everyone's got a business. Do what you can. Like someone might even not have a job himself, but you can show the revert, this is how you make wudu. I'll show you every Friday how to do wudu. I'll teach you. He's going to get all the rewards for that wudu and the actions. So now, brothers and sisters, it's just gone 7:36. We're going to finish, get ready for Isha. Did anyone have any questions? Because I know I kept making you keep quiet, yeah, and I was trying to push the questions right to the end. I think the sister at the back had the question first. So, sister, if you can shout out your question.
I have a friend who's an atheist, and we don't let them
Sorry, sister, can you say it a bit loudly? Brothers, I think there's a bit noisy in the room as well with the chairs. So, say it really loud, sister.
I have a friend who's an atheist, and we don't let them treat us, but she's talking about how humans are like self-created. So then, like, we got into a conversation how there's one God, and then she said we're self-created, and then I said that can't be possible because like nothing comes from nothing, like you said.
Good.
And then she said, how can you prove that we're not self-created when you can't prove your own God? And then I can like answer that.
Okay.
How do you go about like answering that?
All right, so look, basically, I mean, firstly, I would have dealt with, the statement about we are self-created. When the atheist is trying to say that we're self-created, I would have dealt with that first because it's like a false contention or point that he's made. There is no such thing as self-creation. So the way I explained it in the course, you cannot be in existence and not in existence at the same time instance. But what I would specifically do with atheists, when they try to say, prove your God exists, I do the same thing as the yes or no. How many days in the week? Throw it back on them. Turn the table. Excellent, brother, right? Turn the table. Turn the table on the atheist because it gets them to think and gets them out of their comfort zone. So you say to them, no, rather, see, everyone in this room, all the Muslims, we know we've got the proof that God exists. Everyone in this room. You know in your own particular way. I don't have to question you. For one brother, it will be, look, for me, the biggest proof that Allah exists is reading Quran. Whenever I do it, Iman increases. I feel more barakah in my life, blessings. I know I'm getting 10 rewards for every letter. I finish Surah Kahf on a Friday. The Friday I do read it, right? Between that Friday and the next, I feel goodness in my life. That Friday where I miss it, deliberately, laziness, whatever, I feel a difference. Things happen differently. I get a problem in my family, whatever. I can feel it in my life. I know the proof is there for the Muslims, right? So what you do, you turn the table on the atheist. You should be saying to the atheist, sister, you should be saying, no, rather, and this is how it works. The onus of the proof is on the claimant, right? He's claiming that God doesn't exist. It's the same thing as saying, prove your God exists. It's like he's saying, God doesn't exist, prove he exists. You should be saying, no, you prove that God or Allah doesn't exist. Right? That's what you should do to him. You should flip it back on him. And he won't be able to do that. Do you understand? He won't be able to do that. He won't be able to prove that Allah doesn't exist. Do you get it? You put the responsibility goes on his shoulders because there's a default. You know what I mean by default? Like the default, when we talk in conversations, the default standard is that you assume the person's talking the truth, isn't it? You don't assume the person to be a liar because then you'd have to start breaking things down. Life wouldn't work. It would become very crippled. It'd be very difficult. It'd be like, okay, you're lying. We have to verify. You have to speak the truth. You assume whoever, even if a stranger in the street, strange person, you never met them, you assume they're speaking the truth. So there's some fundamental, playing ground, if you want to call it that, right? This playing ground is there. So what I would do is turn it back on the atheist. No, the onus, the responsibility is on them. You prove that God doesn't exist. I know he exists in my own way. I can't physically prove God exists because he's metaphysical, right? But there's ways I can make you think about that he's there or whatever. You can come from that angle. Because remember, we're trying to waken up the fitrah. So I hope that kind of explains it. The key thing is, don't you get into the firing line. Don't you start getting sweating and, okay, how do I prove it, whatever. We've already explained Surah Tur, the whole surah, if you brought that to an atheist, that should be enough proof, right? Irrational ways or means, right? But what you want to do is make they themselves turn the tables on the atheists. That's the best thing to do in a friendly way. Remember, they're human beings, they're people. We're not trying to smash atheists. Yes?
So I think just to add to that, because I know the background where the question's coming from.
Yeah, of course.
These 10-year-old girls talking, and they still continue to talk, they're still friends. So I think what she's asking is, what do I do now?
Oh, I see.
To develop the conversation further.
I get it. So the best thing is, sister, it's like this. Remember what I said. Those atheist girls, whoever they are, remember they're human beings. Sometimes us Muslims have got, we are the ones that cause the problems in the sense that we stereotype. Like the guy with the tattoos. We think atheists, they're all militant, they're all aggressive, right? We have the wrong approach. Does that make sense? Remember, atheists are human beings, right? So we should be very compassionate in our approach. They're souls that we want to save. That soul, that's a soul, isn't it? We want it to go to Jannah. We don't want to see souls go to Jahannam. Nor does Allah. Allah doesn't get stronger by punishing people, right? So the best thing you can do to continue it is build a strong relationship. You know, with these atheist girls, no matter what hardship they show, these youngsters, build a strong relationship, right? Be friendly with them, get to know their interests, get to know their likes, their dislikes, and come in from different angles. Try to waken up their fitrah. Maybe invite them to a dinner, do some act of generosity. You're going to get all the rewards for it, but you try to waken up their fitrah in that way. Don't necessarily come with lots of preaching.